Got 2 people already in here. What's up, Mr. Luke? Patrick, how's it going? Carrie, how's it going? Should probably put my glasses on if I'm playing. Hey, that's 3 people. The count's off. Jordan's going to be joining us any minute. So don't worry about that. He's coming. Pretty excited. Got some good news. Good news to talk about. Interesting news. So I like... what's up, Rex? How you doing, buddy? Let's get the specs on so I can see what's going on. Lone Wolf, Zach, and Mr. Al. How you gentlemen doing? What's up, Hoggy? The pigeons have been loosed. Leon, brother man, how you doing? Andre, how you doing, buddy? Hit that like button. Let's get 5 likes. 5 likes, 10 people. We got 5 slackers going on here. What's going on? Some slackers. Hey, Carrie, did you get your frame yet? Did it come in? I don't know if you guys can hear the wind out there. It's Canadian as fuck out there today. You hear that? Here we are. Boom. Jordan.
What's up, my dude?
How you doing, man? I've been excited about this ever since we spoke that night.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've been freaking out. I went through a whole bunch of my stuff and started pulling numbers. And there's a very clear. It sucked because I went right to the simple shot one because I wanted to see. That was one of the most impressive tests I've ever done. I did a penetration test with a simple shot, and I put it through a steel can, and it ripped right through both sides. So I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen if I fill it with water. So I took a new can, filled it with water, and it went through both of them. But I didn't take a draw weight on that test, so I couldn't remember what it was. I was like, shit. Yeah, it would have been sweet to see because it was.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was slightly heavier than some of the other ones, but the power and speed it brought was sick.
Yeah, I know that it feels, especially when you are getting it to its max. It stacks quite a bit and it gets a little heavy. But the thinner stuff, in my opinion, is just super smooth and it stretches forever. But I don't cut my bands anywhere near max anymore ever.
Me either, really. I just stuck to it that way for when I'm doing the test to kind of give a baseline of what you're going to be getting out of each band set with the same taper at my same draw length, you know? So, like, I don't even shoot 24 to 12 anymore, but since I started my test there, I continue to use that taper.
Yeah, just to keep it even.
Yeah, to keep it even. What's up, Knuckle? Look what I started my morning with, Jordan. You remember that?
What an abomination.
Yeah, well, I kind of like this abomination. This was one of your first with clips, I think?
Yeah, I think the first.
The first, eh?
Sorry, I'm switching around my seats.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Knuckle busting numbskull. Got Tim. How's it going, Tim? Bazzy? Woo. All right, man.
Oh, man, Rex is here.
It was pretty crazy this morning. I don't know if you could. Every now and then you're going to hear the wind blow up in here. It's crazy. It's the wind smashing my house with snow. It's sliding right under my garage door. We're supposed to get 30 to 45 centimeters of snow today. So we're talking somewhere around a foot to 14 inches of snow. Yeah, with 50K wins. So always a good time, you know.
Yeah, we have it's snowing here right now too, and we're probably gonna get a couple inches, maybe 2 or 3 inches.
Oh, 2 or 3 inches. I miss those days. Yeah,
At
it's
at
been
very
pretty rough
least,
this year.
yeah,
We
yeah,
in 1 week this year we got more snow than we did all last year. Yeah, and now this is coming, so it should be an interesting season.
yeah. The place that I work at, we have to do all the snow removal too.
Ugh.
I work in maintenance for a like apartment complex, and we have to do all the snow removal. And this year, man, we've been out there so much. We've gone through probably like 4 pallets of salt, and last year I don't even think we got through a pallet.
Oh wow. Yeah, it was a slack year last year, for sure.
Yeah.
Welcome to Canada. Yeah, Daryl. You know what? This is to be fair. What we're having now is actually our regular winter.
Oh
On
yeah.
my channel, yeah, on my channel a few years ago, I did an overnighter out in the woods in the dead of winter, and me and my brother were snowshoeing through the woods, and we were walking on like 4 feet of snow. Like that's normal for us. So when yeah, I know. And anyway, we ended up. I have a there actually in that video. I'm surprised it didn't do so well. We cooked ribs out into the woods, and I started my fire. I started my fire with a hole about this big, like maybe 2 feet across, and I made a tripod. And I have like a little grill that I hang from a series of chains, and we can raise and lower it and whatnot. And we were cooking ribs on there. We were cutting down beech and ironwood, which the BTUs on that is just savage.
Mm.
By the end of the night, we had a 10-foot diameter ring with green grass under our feet. It had just completely melted everything off, and we were sitting down on the edge of it like a chair, and our feet were barely touching the ground. Yeah, it was so cool, and the ribs were fucking good, man. Let me tell
I
you.
bet. I
Oh,
bet.
buddy, they were delicious.
My
Yeah,
God.
we spent the night out in a tent that night. Slept that night. Woke up the next morning, had eggs and bacon, and then the snow started to fall again. I'm like, oh fuck, okay, let's get out of here.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah, let's call it. Yeah.
I haven't done any like I've done a bunch of like camping, hiking, backpacking stuff throughout the years, and I've never done anything that's in the snow. I did do a trip once where the first night that we got there, it was like 9 p.m. and then we had to hike like 6 miles to get to the first spot we wanted to camp.
Oh,
So
in
we
the
did
dark
this,
too.
yeah. So we did this like nighttime camping, and it was like maybe 40 degrees or something. And then by the time we got to where we were, it was um like a 3/4 miles in elevation. And we woke up in the morning and it was snowing. And we were like, wow, we weren't expecting it to snow.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
next day we got down, we got to the peak and then hiked down, and it was like a valley. And down at the bottom of the valley there was a river, and we got to the river. We're like, we're gonna fish. So we go fishing, and my buddy Vinny, he basically passed out with his hat over his face. It's like baseball cap, pulled it over his face. And we were out on the bank, and it was like warm, but we didn't realize that it was actually a lot warmer than it was. And when he woke up, he had sunburn on his neck.
Oh no.
So
And
like
his
in a
face
matter
was
of
white.
20 so like in a matter of 24 hours, it was snowing and he got sunburned on his neck.
Oh
We were
no.
like, what a weird day. Like what a weird
Yeah.
24 hours to have.
Yeah, I'm itching for another trip. My last trip was I think it was like 2022 or 2021. It was just after the COVID bullshit. We went on a 53-kilometer trip in northern Ontario with by canoe and foot, and we were out there for 4 days. Every day, just paddling to a new spot, hiking, portaging, all that stuff, in pretty rugged terrain. It was kind of brutal. I have the video actually up of it on my channel, but we did that the whole thing for 4 days. We caught enough fish every single day where I didn't have to bring food. It was like, I mean, I
That's
ate the
all.
food. I ate the
Yeah.
food just because it made the pack lighter. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
pretty much the most of it, but it was pretty nice. I mean, I
Heck yeah.
remember I remember on that trip, on the way down to scout the portage, we had our packs on, and we were walking down, and we took a wrong turn, and ended up following like if you're gonna scout, usually have your trail, and then you have your scouting path where you're gonna go and check to see the rapids along the way. And we were hiking down this thing, we're checking it out, and we went the wrong path. So we got about halfway down, and then realized, oh shit, now we got to bushwhack the rest of the way. But it was a kilometer and a half. So we walked a kilometer and a half down, dropped our packs, walked a kilometer and a half back, picked up the canoe, and walked a kilometer and a half back again. It was like, fuck, this is this is brutal. But we went down the right path on the way back, so it was nice. Yeah. But what a great trip. It was so much fun. At the end of the 4 days, I'm like, man, I'm just getting comfortable here, man. I want to stay, But
Yeah.
we're at the end. We got to go,
Yeah, that's how I always feel when I'm at the end of one of those trips. Like on that last day, we have a tradition in our group where we will hike back out to the vehicles, and then we find a rinky-dink mom and pop's little restaurant where we can go and sit, and all of us just try to see how much we can pack in.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
dude, it sometimes gets pretty crazy. Like, I have a friend named Phil, and Phil's like 6'7", and he weighs like 245 pounds. He's just a beefcake. And I've never seen a human being eat like that before, man. He's
It's amazing the hunger, the way that you generate in there. And
oh yeah,
and you're eating food. Like the food you're eating you're usually smart about it. You're bringing high caloric food that has the best nutrient dense. It's light enough to carry, So, I mean, for us, we were carrying like dried beans that we'd boil them up at nighttime and that kind of thing. And we were
yeah,
bringing oatmeal with trail mix. That's what I had for breakfast every morning. I had 2 packets of oatmeal and 2 big handfuls of trail mix. I was just
yeah,
throwing it in there, just snarfing it down. And man, every single morning started off the same way. It was like wake up, pay my taxes, and then out onto the trail, and you were
yeah,
good all day, just slamming food down,
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think I was like 15 pounds lighter at the end of 4 days. It was crazy.
We do what we call the ramen bomb. I think this is like a
Oh yeah,
backpacker thing where
yeah,
we put instant mashed potatoes and ramen noodles together,
yeah,
and then we put like tuna or something in there.
yeah. A
So
little bit of
good,
protein.
so good,
Yeah,
so good.
and it's funny because I calculated it out about 3,000 calories per day when I went on just like food stuff that I had separated up. But then I added in on top of that all the fish that I ate. So we were eating fish every single day that we caught.
Yeah,
Bass, pike, walleye, whatever, catfish. We were eating a lot of the things that we caught. And by the time we were done, I was still like, but I'll tell you, every time I ate that protein from that fish, man, it was welcome. Like my body felt good. It was
yeah,
crazy. It was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I
But
love
I'm,
that.
I'm
Good.
due.
I love fresh fish, man. I like
Oh
fish in general, but just catching a fish and like carving it up right there is you can't beat that.
no, total different. And it's fun. Like for me, I'm kind of I'll say I'm a fish hater. Like I can't go to the store and buy fish. I can't. But if it comes right out of the water, I kill that shit. Like I can't
Yeah,
help it. As soon as it has that little bit of a smell of a fishy smell for me, I'm like, no, I'm out. I can't do it.
yeah.
But
I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, but the straight out of the water, that when we were out there that day, my buddy caught 2 beautiful walleye. Like it was a full meal for the 4 of us. And oh my god, it was not even right how good that stuff was. Just fried in butter with a sprinkle of salt, pepper, and garlic. It's all it needed. Amazing.
That's what I bring adobo.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I bring adobo and I throw down on a little butter or whatever we got, coconut oil maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll bring one or the other. And my
Coconut
God,
oil is a good one to bring.
you bring it just
Yeah.
a little bit in like a little squirt bottle, like one of the bottles we put shampoo in.
Oh yeah. Oh, perfect.
Oh, first shot of hit.
Sweet deal, eh? Should we let the cat out of the bag or let the people know what's going on?
Yeah,
Give
man, let's
maybe,
get into it.
maybe give them a little breakdown first. All right, I'm gonna start it off a little bit. I'll let you drop the info. Okay,
Okay.
sound good? So
Yeah.
so a couple of days ago, Jordan and I were talking uh, about going lighter in your bands for accuracy. Now, I've been saying this for quite a long time. that, and I actually have a video of it from like 2 or 3 years back where I was shooting precise 0.65 and I dropped it down to GZK 0.5 orange. And the difference was my groups went from this to this instantly more accurate. Now, I know I've been talking about giving up the band testing because a lot of people were only understanding or only listened to the speeds. That was the most important. And I'm trying to get people to understand that speed is not king. It's shot placement. Every time you're able to hit what you're aiming at, there's a shot placement there. Your accuracy is more important than anything else. And that goes across the board. That goes for hunting, that goes for target shooting, that goes across the board. You want to be able to hit what you're pointing at every single time reliably, and that's the most important. So by going at speed, a lot of times speed will boost up your draw weight, which in turn reduces your accuracy. It's harder to hold on to something like this that's heavier than something that's lighter. It's just a fact. Also, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Linder Sucks. He did a video of holding a penny, and he was trying to drop or holding a quarter or something, and he was just trying to lightly drop it onto another quarter that was right below it. And when he was pinching it hard and then letting it go, the quarter would fly off in all different directions, very random. When he just gently held onto it enough to hold onto it and let it slip through his fingers, it dropped straight down and hit the target every single time. That in turn also works in archery, shooting firearms, everything. If you're pulling your trigger aggressively, your shot's going to waver a little bit. If you're releasing or plucking the string on your bow, same problem. And when you get to your elastic and you're holding your pouch and you release it, it causes a problem. Now, you want to we kind of figured out basically, or Jordan figured out a way to find out how what's the word I'm looking for? How efficient your elastic is to the draw weight. Go for it, dude.
Yeah, so a few years back, I also did a few band speed tests, and I did a shootout series on YouTube where I basically pitted a bunch of slingshot latex against each other, and I gave scores. So I used 10 different bands. I gave scores for performance in various categories, and the categories that I chose heavily favored speed because at the time everybody does this. Everybody gets into slingshots and they want to just shoot rockets. Yeah. So at the time I was like so focused on
it's part of the progression. To be fair, it is.
So at the time I was so focused on speed, and I think it unfairly favored speed. So I tried to fit as many things that I could think of in these tests that didn't favor speed, but where speed was still a factor. So when I thought about it, I was like, when we are thinking about speed, we don't actually, like, we want speed. Speed's good because that means your ball's flat. The faster it's going, the further out it's going to be able to stay flat, and the easier targets are going to be to hit. Like, imagine if we were shooting like a pistol where the bullet's traveling, 900 miles per hour, and you're looking, 50 yards out, and you're hitting the same spot as 25 yards out. Like, it doesn't really make that big of a difference with a pistol. Yeah. But with a slingshot, that makes an enormous difference. So you would have to hold way over to hit something at 50 yards versus something at 20 yards. So the things that I thought about were longevity, which if we could put a band set on and get a 10,000 shots out of it and all 10,000 of those shots were good, like, we would want that, right? That's something we would appreciate. Yeah. I thought about price. So I put what I paid for every single band set, for every single band roll. And I was like, we can compare prices pretty easily because all the rolls that we buy are basically the same length. So we know what we're getting per roll. And I also put in there the number of feet per second divided by the number of draw weight. And I thought that would lend favor to speed because the higher that number is, the better. and it would lend favor to draw weight because the lower the number that is, the better. So if you had 1 pound draw weight and you shot 300 feet per second, that number would be 300. And if you had a 100 pound draw weight and you shot 100 feet per second, that number would be 1.
Yep.
Now, both of those two things are probably impossible. I guess 100 pound draw weight wouldn't be impossible if you used like paracord or something, but
Yeah.
it gave power to the speed component and it gave power to the draw weight. And what we want is we want the highest speed possible with the lowest draw weight possible. And some of us will sacrifice draw weight to get more speed, and some of us will sacrifice speed to get less draw weight.
Yep.
So if I have to shoot a little heavier band when I'm out hunting squirrel so that I know my ball is going that 230 feet per second or 250 feet per second that I want an 11 mil ball to go, that's what I'm going to do. If I have to bump the weight up to 9 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever.
I just want to put a little pin in that real quick, because from the data that I collected, my old favorite band that I used to use all the time and my current band set that I'm using all the time will actually prove exactly what you just said. Okay?
Heck yeah.
Okay, so
the goal for slingshot shooters, and this is true for archers as well if you've been around in archery at all, archers don't really care about draw weight. If you talk to an archer, they'll tell you, I can draw it, who cares? What they care about a lot more is the speed of their arrow, the spine weight of their arrows, and whether or not they're shooting an arrow that matches to their draw weight.
Yep.
If you get one of these like 60-year-old dudes who just shoots a 70-pound bow for target practice, that's what he likes. That's what he's going to shoot. You're not going to convince him that a 40-pound bow is better.
No.
It won't happen. But this guy's probably been shooting that bow for 30 years. He knows everything about the bow. He probably sorts his arrows meticulously and wants the perfect arrows only for that bow. Like,
yeah, right down to the grain weight, tips,
exactly.
shaft, the whole deal. Yeah.
What he wraps fletching on with, the type of glue he uses, like all that stuff is going to be very, very precise. And in slingshots, we have grace because we're not working with that kind of equipment. Like a steel ball is a steel ball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not picky about, I want my steel balls to be fresh for competition. I want them to be new. Yep. When I'm out shooting, practicing, I don't care what they look like. I don't give a fuck if they're rusted or if they're, I'm picky about if they are gnarled and like really bad, but if they're pretty smooth, like I don't care.
And just to expand on that a little bit, I don't know for those of you who saw my video where I did the exact same band, the exact same taper, the exact same length, and the only thing that was different on there was the pouch weight. On that video, I measured out a whole bunch of ammo to make sure, brand new ammo, I measured them all out to make sure that they were all the same weight, and I found that that's actually not the case. There are some that are very, very slight, like a thousandth of two or two over and under type thing that made a bit of a difference. We're talking like a quarter gram or even less than that, way less than that actually. But it did show a difference in weight on these things when I was wearing them out. So I took all the ones that were the exact same. Now, for that video, but really, when we're talking about with our slingshot elastic, we get all those, all those things set up, and any little variation in the stuff that we're checking, shooting, weighing can make a big difference on what you're, what you're getting. So it's kind of it's kind of wacky. It's surprising how much a small difference can make a difference on your pouch speed.
Yeah, I think so. I think that what I mean by that was just that in slingshots, there's a lot less to worry about, basically.
Yeah, agreed.
Like your steel ball is your steel ball, your ammo is your ammo. Your bands are the thing we're going to be picky about. And everybody, like, there's a huge discussion happening all the time about frames and different frame styles and all that kind of stuff. But the really only discussion should be about latex because that's the driver.
Yep.
That's the driver. This, like, your frame is the vehicle, the latex are the engine. So this is what's going to actually do the work. And when you're thinking about speed, like, I want good speed. I want to be able to see my ball. So I don't want it blazing speed. But I mean, 300 feet per second, I'll take it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But lighter draw weight is better. So higher speed, lighter draw weight, and just dividing the number of feet per second into the pounds of draw weight can give us a number. And the higher that number is, it means that the more feet per second you're getting per pound of draw weight.
I've been calling it an efficiency score. I don't know really what else to call it, really, but
Yeah.
it kind of fits, you know?
Efficiency score is probably the simplest way to make that happen, but
Yeah.
efficiency score is going to be, like you pointed out, efficiency score is going to be highly related to the size of ammo you're using.
Yeah.
It's going to be highly related to the type of bands that you're using, because I could cut a 0.6 band and make it work for 8 mil. I can cut a 0.8 band and make it work for 8 mil.
Yeah.
But you can't compare a 0.8 band at any taper to a 0.5 band at any taper. They're just not the same.
No. And it's kind of funny, actually. I've done a little bit of testing with Great White. I did 10 millimeter straight cuts, shooting 8 mil, and the 0.5 still beat it. The retraction rates were just quicker. You know,
Yeah.
that thinner elastic. It was kind of funny. Although, and the draw weight was probably very similar at a 10 millimeter straight cut. I couldn't really get a taper from 10 millimeter down. It was like, but what am I going to do? I'm going to take 3 shots and it's going to break, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you kind of mess around and play with things sometimes when you get into this topic. And, well, you know, I've had so many people ask me questions about band elastic and what should I use. I shoot 0.7, but I shoot 8 mil steel. I'm like, dude, you know, like, you might be pushing it a little. What's your taper? It's 18 to 12. I'm like, still, dude, you may be pushing it a little bit much. You know, you don't need that kind of elastic, but they last forever. Okay, you know, you do you, bro.
But,
You know, don't
yeah.
complain about hand slap. You know,
That's the end goal, is to just do whatever works for you. Like,
yeah.
if you do something and you like it, it's working. Like, I'm not gonna complain. Who am I to tell you to not do something you like doing? But that's the thing. Like, I think that if we're gonna have a number to compare latexes to, I don't think speed is fair, and I don't think draw weight's fair. But I do think that dividing the speed by the number of pounds is as fair as you can get.
Yeah. Do you mind if I read off a couple of the stats that I got, or you want
Yeah,
something you want to add to it? Okay, so I kind of pulled them off randomly of different numbers that I had. The first one that popped up was Sumki. Now, keep in mind that all of these numbers are based on my draw weight at 29.5 inches long. They are based, and that's maxed out band sets with a taper of 24 to 12. And yeah, the pouches and the ammo is always the same. The pouches do differ. So on that respect, we could say yes or no, whatever, but it still should give us a baseline. As for the speed, I took the fastest speed that I got out of each 5 shots, because I do 5 shots for every one. I took the fastest speed. I could have taken the average. That would have also worked, but we'll get to it. So Sumki, I had a draw weight of 9.2. And the speed that I got was 303 feet per second. And they gave me an efficiency score of 32.93. So not bad. Not bad, but it could be better, right? Jinpu had a draw weight of 9.1. I had a speed of 300.3. And that gave me an efficiency score of 33 straight up. So slightly better than Sumki. Gongchi, my old favorite. Okay? Now, Jordan and I were discussing about this, and he was asking me while we were chatting about this whole topic, what was my deal, how I set up my bands. And I told him that as long as I get over 270 feet per second, I know that at 10 meters, I'm smoking whatever it is I'm aiming at. Now, Gongchi gave me a draw weight of 7.6, but gave me 289 feet per second. And Out of all of those bands that I've tested and I've shot, that was one of the bands that I shot the absolute best. And that's all of these ones that I'm mentioning here, guys, were 0.5. Okay. That gave me a score of 38.02, which was the highest score that I got out of all of these things. Sniper Sling Yellow, I had a draw weight of 9.9. It was pretty heavy. The black, I didn't take the draw weight, but it was somewhere around 13 pounds. It was stupid heavy.
It's not worth doing.
No. When we were talking about it, I gave it like a score of 9, for example. We did that quick breakdown just to wrap my head around what we were talking about, but it was actually much higher than that. So that one, I got 308.5 feet per second. Probably the fastest one out of all the ones that I have on this list. It was very quick, but it gave me a score of 31.16, which is actually one of the lower ones in the list. Falcon, 0.5. It gave me a draw weight of 8.6, but only gave me a speed of 256.6. We're talking about Falcon White here, okay, guys? That was 29.83, the lowest score out of all of them. Although the draw was pretty nice, when you're feeling the draw was nice, but the speed and the draw weight didn't really reflect where it was at. And I feel bad because I'm not trying to shit on anybody's elastic here. I'm just giving the information of what I've tested. The current bands that I'm shooting right now, for the most part, is Omega Slings. I got 8.8 pounds with 304.3 feet per second, which was the second highest score out of all of them for 34.57. A score of 34.57, which is pretty damn nice. And when you were talking about what did I go for, I ended up switching to Omega Slings Electric White because I found with Gong Chi at a longer distance of 10 meters, I struggled to hit the target at 15 to 20 feet, 20 meters, where I had to aim a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and I just didn't have the balls to get it down there, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the switch to Omega Slings. Now I probably could arrange the Gong Chi in a way where I can actually get those, raise it up a little bit more in the speeds, but again, it would also raise up the draw weight. So since then, I have dropped down to 0.45 in summertime. Wintertime, it's a no-go for me here. It gets way too cold for really thin elastic. But these scores are very, very interesting. So not only can you use it as a tool to develop your speeds, if you have a chronograph and you're at home or whatever it is, you can test things, you could really fine-tune your bands to a score that you like, that'll drop down your draw weight, but still give you a decent enough speed to make the shots at. I mean, most people shooting between 10 and 20 meters. I think anything longer than that is a different story. You may need to drop your score a little bit to get that extra heat, but I don't know.
What this does is it allows you the grace of being able to cut a different band taper or length, because now I'm not trying to get my fastest speed. What I'm trying to do is make that number higher so that it's more efficient, because that means it's going to be a higher number of feet per second for every pound of draw that you're putting into it. It's actually rewarding you for the effort of the draw weight instead of rewarding you for maxing up your bands, let's say. So what would be really interesting is to see this test done on, a Sniper Sling or Gong Chi, where I really like those bands, and I want to see if adding a half an inch will increase my efficiency score, because the speed's going to come down, but so is the draw weight. And how does increasing the band length by half an inch or an inch just to give me more play or more life out of my bands, let's say? And then that could be your other indicator. So the life expectancy of the bands can be the other thing that we're focused on, instead of how fast does it go. It's an efficiency score. It's a feet per second for every pound of draw weight plus longevity. Where am I on that spectrum? So you add in a longevity score of, how many shots before I notice a tear, how many shots can I get with a tear. However you want to do that, it doesn't make any difference, because everyone's going to do that differently.
And for me, that's the reason why I switched from Gong Chi to Omega Slings. When I tested out my first roll of Omega Slings, I started shooting it, and I was getting like 400, 500, 600 or more shots per set. I'm like, whoa! My Gong Chi, I'm looking at 300. That's pretty much tops. So
Yeah.
it was a huge difference. It was a huge difference.
So I also gave other scores in that test that I think are also something that might be worth mentioning. It was like the drop off percent. So how when you shoot the same band, and you shoot an 8 millimeter versus a 9.5 millimeter, like how much percent are you losing in terms of speed?
Yeah.
And that could also be a factor.
I did
But
a video recently, not too recently, but recently enough, because a lot of us, when we're testing our shots, we shoot through a chronograph a couple of feet in front of us. Really, we shouldn't
yeah,
be doing it. We should be shooting it somewhere in the middle of our distance that we're shooting at to see if you're still accelerating. Now, one day I did a shot right in front of me, did another shot in the middle, and another shot down at the end, just to see what kind of speeds I was getting. And I was actually still accelerating almost all the way through the 10 meters, which was weird. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
so it's coming out of your bands slower than when it's at 10 meters.
I think you're coming through the band. It's coming through the band. When it's releasing, you're instantly going through, and by the time it keeps on going, it's still accelerating slightly. I don't think it drops off right away. I think it still speeds up a little bit. We'd have to. I mean, it was very, very little. It could have been a difference in draw. Like maybe I went a little more back tension in my shot. I don't know. But from what I saw, I got about 15 feet per second difference from there to there.
That's not insignificant.
No, it's
That's
not.
That's a big jump. Yeah.
Yeah. But by the time we got to the to the catch box, because I had my chronograph right in front of the catch box, we were on the downslide again. So
Okay.
I don't know. It could, like I said, it could have been something with my draw. I didn't really go and take averages and go crazy on it. It was just like hey, fuck, I wonder, one of those deals.
Yeah, it should. Whenever you're doing these tests, you have to remember that these numbers are variable in a way that makes it not super duper precise. So you have to kind of take groupings into consideration. Yeah. Like if I shoot exactly the same, if I shot a band set that had 20 shots put through it, let's say, and then I start testing the speed and I shoot 50 shots, there's going to be variation within a couple of feet per second. Yeah. But ultimately that variation at 10 meters doesn't make any difference. I mean, it shouldn't make any difference whether it's going, as long as it's going fast enough. Yeah. Like if the variance was 10 feet per second versus 20 feet per second, that's a big deal. But if the variance is 250 versus 240, yeah, it's not that big of a difference, really. No.
But I was trying to, I guess, basically the best way you could explain is like throwing a baseball. These guys are up there on the mound throwing a baseball 100 miles an hour, but I don't think their hand is traveling that speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they release the ball, I think it does accelerate at some point before it starts to lose energy.
They don't measure the speed at where they release the ball. They measure the speed coming over the plate.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see that too, because pitchers now in Major League Baseball are unbelievably efficient. They're throwing more and more and more people are throwing into the 100-mile-per-hour range, and I mean, for somebody to be able to throw 100 miles an hour that also is throwing 100 pitches at a time, that's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah. But also, to be fair, back in the day, you had a bunch of guys sitting on the bench smoking cigarettes and drinking beer all the time, So it's like it's kind of like now we got guys in there. They're actually working on their mobility, make sure everything is good. They've got all the science behind them instead of just being a bunch of guys that were pretty fit and like to play sports.
But they're what they're doing in their training is they're looking at that. So they're using high speed cameras. They're looking at their body mechanics efficiencies. They're creating a system where their mechanics are working for them. It's the same thing we're going to be doing here with latex. It's the same thing. You're creating a system, but to my point, that system only works if you can accurately compare bands against each other, because you can't compare a band, in my opinion, you can't compare a band with a 10-pound draw weight to a band with a 6-pound draw weight. There's no comparison there.
No
And
comparison.
even if they're both 0.5, even if they're both the same band, you just cut them different. You can't compare those things. So we can use a number where we're giving benefit to the draw weight and we're giving benefit to the speed, and that number efficiency, what did you call it? Efficiency ratio?
Efficiency value. I didn't want to use ratio because you're kind of comparing like 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1. That's a ratio. In this case, it's not. It's more of a value, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it still is because it's all a division problem, but I like that number value because I like the word value because value is what it is. That's the more valuable piece of information. Like, I don't really care how fast my ball is going. I want to know how fast the ball is going for every pound of effort that I have to put into it.
Yeah.
Because I could rig a band set that weighs 30 pounds and shoot a ball 400 feet per second. Like, it's not out of the question. I want to know what the efficiency is.
Yeah, I was so disappointed that I didn't have those numbers for a lot of the other band sets, because when I'm talking top 3, top 5 band sets, I mean, some of the ones that I've tested, I've had like I said, Gong Chi, Omega Slings, Simple Shot, like I'd mentioned to you before. What was the other one? GZK Orange. I freaking love that band. It brought a lot of heat. It was great. It didn't have the problems of the green. There was a whole bunch of other bands that I put way up there that were really, really good, but I just didn't have the data on them. I was like, shit. That would have been. I regret not doing that more early on. But I had to get my sling knowledge to kind of catch up to that point when I was like, fuck, draw weight makes a difference. I gotta start measuring this, and so long too. So long was another elastic that just brought the freaking heat, but it was a little bit on the heavy side.
Yeah. You ever try the green stuff, like the apple green Sobong?
Oh, no, I never tried it.
Oh,
I never tried it. I tried the black, and they had a black and white one. I've tried both of those, and they were just stupid. They were stupid.
Their apple green one was like a lighter version, but it was still so snappy. The color of that stuff was awesome. And but man, it did feel heavy. I think that this also removes, when you do this test, you have to measure two things. You're measuring the draw weight, you're measuring the speed. It removes bias a lot.
Yeah.
Because I always think about myself, like, I really like Sniper Sling Yellow and I really like Simple Shot. And those are two bands that I used for a long time that I always spoke highly of even before I was with Simple Shot. And why did I like those bands? Why were those two what drew me to them? When I put them on my Slingshot and I shot them, it felt good. It felt nice. Where is that efficiency in those? Are they high? Are they low? Like, I can tell you when I was using 0.6 bands and shooting 9.5 ammo all the time, the Simple Shot was middle of the road in terms of speed. It was on the higher end in terms of speed, but it was middle of the road in terms of that efficiency value. Like, it scored well, but it wasn't the highest. But then I look over and I see like I have my sheet from that years ago when I was comparing these bands, and like the highest efficiency value was GZK Black.
Yeah.
Why was it so high? Well, because the speed was crazy.
Yeah.
The speed was so high.
Yeah.
That it blew the curve. So maybe I
can't remember the speed I got, but it was something like 328 or 334 feet per second. It was just stupid. But get more than 50 shots out of it. That was my problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I had the same thing. I had with the 0.62 GZK Black, my 11 millimeter steel was going 247 feet per second.
That's so dumb. Crazy. That's like hitting people with a cannonball.
Dude, that's so fast. And when you're
That's
hunting,
fast.
maybe I want that if I'm going to go out hunting. Maybe I want to use that now because I see that by far the fastest that I had. Yeah. So my other values here are with a long draw, but yeah, it's fast, man. It's fast. I mean, 240 feet per second.
The fastest elastic I've ever tested for larger ammo was Sniper Sling .7. I was getting 315 feet per second with 9.5 steel, and it was like 260 with with 11 mil steel, and that's short draw, guys. That's short draw.
Yeah, that's short draw for me too.
Yeah, but I had to work out for 3 weeks to get ready to pull that thing back. It was ridiculous how heavy it was.
You have to get the little hand squeezer.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
How do you pinch it? I don't know. But
It was crazy.
yeah, at the end of the day, what ended up happening was when I ran those scores, I simple shot ran high middle on the whole pack, and it ended up with a high overall score because it was the best in longevity, but that's the only thing that it was the best at. Otherwise, it was doing well. It just wasn't blowing anything away.
Mm-hmm.
But bands like GZK Black and Green just had such high speeds that they killed it in a lot of areas, and so they ended up with real high scores.
Yeah.
But when I shoot it, I don't like it. I don't like shooting those bands.
It's got a weird wall at the end of it, which I find it stacks up really quick at the back end, which I didn't like. But oddly enough, the GZK Black .5 that I was testing, it was like, I don't know. It felt like it was pulling a wet noodle until it stopped. It was really weird. I really didn't like it at all. It was weird. Yeah.
Now the GCK, the yellow one, they call it orange on their website. That one I didn't mind so much.
I like it.
Lighter draw weight. That one had a really high efficiency score. That was one of the top five. It was number 4. It looks like. Gongchi had a high efficiency score. Sniper Sling did not have a high efficiency score.
No,
but I like shoot. But I like it. I like when I put it on my. If you didn't tell me that, and you just let me shoot, that would be one I would be drawn to.
The Sniper Sling Yellow was one of it was in my top 3.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. And when I did the math on, I'm like, oh, Sniper Sling Yellow is gonna blow this shit up. And I looked at the number, I'm like, fuck, really? Like, no way. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But it's good stuff, man. I liked it.
So that was I did these tests a long time ago, man. I was using like a 25-20 taper or something. I was using a 0.6 band with 9.5 steels. I don't shoot any of that anymore.
Yeah.
And so all of that information isn't super relative to me now because I want the lightest setup possible. For my 10 meter shooting, I've been doing a 0.4 band that's cut too long. I can draw it back here.
Yeah.
And my ball gets to the target before it starts to drop. But if my target was even like at 10 meters, but if my target was at 12 meters, I mean, I'd be shooting that far below it because I can tell it's about to start. It's about to die.
Yeah.
At that point. But I only need it to go 10 meters. And the reason I leave it long is because I would rather get 300 shots that are exactly the same rather than 100 shots that are similar and then the band breaks a few shots later, or I get 100 shots that are coming in hot and then the next 100 shots are just poopy.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I was talking with Gasper a bunch of years, or I guess about 2 years back, and we were shooting the shit back and forth about bands, and he was sending me some things. I was sending him some things to try out. I had got some Silenzi 8 from Precise, and I sent him some of those because the 0.5 was really light, felt really nice. We were going back and forth on all this, and he told me that he doesn't even shoot his bands after 200 shots. whether they're dead or not. When he's a top shooter. This guy's he's like fucking legendary, you know. He's got a lot of titles under his belt and all that. So I started picking his brain a little bit, and he was telling me, he's like, no, I put my bands on, I do a couple of warm up shots to get them kind of flowing, and then it's on like Donkey Kong. I'll do a couple of runs with my bands. When I hit about 200 shots, it's like my consistency starts to drop. The ball starts to drop. It starts to slow down. So I don't even bother. And he shot 100%. For the most part, but he pulled his bands off of his thing right at 200 shots. Like that's it, they're done.
Yeah, I've never tried. I think I had like 2 band sets that somebody gave me that were 100%. So I can't give any credence to 100% at all. I've heard they're good bands. I just don't know. I never used them.
I shot them quite a bit. I shot 0.45, 0.48, 0.5, 0.55, 0.6, 0.7, and 0.8. I shot them all, full rolls, all the way through. And they're fantastic bands. But the guy's such a scamming piece of shit asshole that he'll scam everybody. And I hope you heard that, Jan. He'll fucking rob everybody. So I completely wiped out, and I kept my videos up that I had of him, but all the testing, everything, I've completely removed his website. And I got to check if I got them all. I'm going to be writing down, order at your own risk. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know? Fuck it.
Yeah, I think after, dude, I hadn't tried them at that point. Once you made that video, I wasn't ever going to try them. Like,
yeah,
you just can't do that. At very least, reach out and say something.
Anything. Sorry, dude, my house burnt down. Even if it's a lie, say something. Just don't say nothing. And then completely cut me off of social media, you know? And Mr. Z was another guy too. He screwed over. And I started having people contact me, blaming me for telling people that his stuff was good. I'm like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's it.
I feel the same, man. I gravitated towards power in the beginning. I wanted the oomph. I wanted to make sure that if I hit something, it was going to die.
Yeah.
And I don't shoot like that anymore. Like I'll tell you the truth. When I do have the opportunity to try to go take some small game, I'll just take the old roll of Simple Shot 0.7 or 0.8 that I have and cut like a stupid taper. I'll cut like a 24-15 taper or something.
Yeah.
And I'll throw 11 mil steel. And when I draw it, all I can think to myself is this: if this hits it, I'm eating.
Red mist. That's it.
I don't care about that. We're either eating or I'm gonna miss the game. I'd rather miss than hit it and not get it.
Yeah, and have it hop away, die somewhere else or whatever. Yeah.
But other than that, all I need is the ball to pierce through paper, or knock over a little knockdown target, or hit a can. Like that's all I need out of the ball. It doesn't need to be going 150 feet per second faster than I need it to be going.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, the back to that whole thing. Just to clarify, anybody in here, when I'm doing my band test, guys, I started off with a taper of 24-12. I stuck with that taper to make it consistent all the way through, so you can compare the bands. I also have a draw of. I used to say it was 30 inches, but it's actually 29.5. When I do it, my thumbnail draws right to my elbow, and I shouldn't be able to pull it more than a half inch past that. That's pretty much my tolerance that I use. When I'm shooting normally, I'm shooting 22-14 or 22-12, depending on the band thickness, to add a little bit of light. I also cut my band so I've got like an inch to an inch and a half extra pull. And that there drops my draw weight to make it lighter. And it just drops down my speed a little bit. We're talking like 20 feet per second. That last little bit on that elastic does give you quite a bit of speed. But when you're able to drop it down from like say 8 to a 6.5 draw weight, that's a huge difference, guys. A huge difference. That's why these scores that Jordan's talking about is actually so important. If you're able to figure out these things, calculate it, your draw weight, you could fine tune that. If you're taking the scale and here's maximum accuracy, and you're able to go like this or like this, you know, like that's, or this is more towards accuracy and this is more towards speed, and you're able to go more towards accuracy with a very little difference in speed, That's a huge difference. You'll notice that in your shooting, 100%.
And the other thing too, this allows you to dial the efficiency score that you're looking for. So again, when we talk about speed, 300 doesn't mean it's better than 250. It just means that it's faster.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at this score, what you can look at is that's how you can now compare one band to the next. You can buy an Omega band, cut a band set that you like from Omega, and then you can buy a Precise band and cut a band set that you like from Precise, but you cut them differently to get to somewhere close to that same efficiency score.
Yep.
So when I cut like a simple shot band, and I use a 20 to 12 taper, it's a standard taper, but I might cut that 20 to 12 taper at 180 on a 0.5, and then I might cut it at 170 on a 0.4, because the speeds are different and the draw weight is different, but that speed to draw weight is really, really similar score.
Yeah. And all the elongations on different bands will come into that. And that's something else I should probably mention, was the reason why I took the elongation and divided that by my draw length, was to find out when I'm getting my active band length. I wanted to make sure that if the elongation is 5.5 for one brand and 0.7 for another, at the end, I'm still drawing to the same length. So when I'm maxing out my band set, yes, my active band lengths do change throughout all my tests, but the draw length is always the same. Because if I took a 5.5, a 7 and cut it to a 5.5, I'd pull that 7 all the way back here and let it rip. And time under tension means more speed. So that's...
You know what I'm thinking about now that you mentioned that? I think that the reason that I really liked holy hell, I can't talk all of a sudden. The reason that I really liked Sniper Sling Yellow was because every time I would buy Sniper Sling Yellow, the stretch ratio was almost exactly the same. When I would buy brands like GZK or Precise, and I think that Precise is good bands. But sometimes I'd get a roll and I'd cut it, and I'd have a bunch of play, and I'd be like, okay, what happened here? And then sometimes I'd get a roll and I'd get a hard stop, even though I cut them the same. And I don't mean to keep dogging on GZK, but the same damn thing would happen with the GZK bands, the green ones, not the black, not the orange. The black and orange were always consistently heavy or consistently stretchy. The green ones, sometimes I'd get a roll, it'd have a 650% elongation. Sometimes I get a roll, it'd be a 500% elongation. Yeah, and then they would break like vertically. They break along the band instead of across the band.
Coming back, slap you in the face. Yeah, I
know.
know.
Oh my god! So yeah, when you said that, the whole stretch ratio thing, like maybe that's the reason I like the Sniper Sling bands so much.
It's consistency.
Because they were consistent.
Yeah,
they were always exactly the same.
And to your point, I had a roll of GZK green that was 5.5, and I had another one that came in that was 6.5, and I thought I'd made an error. Oh, I must have made a mistake or something. I went back and I checked those bands, and no, the elongation was 5.5. The other one was 6.5. A whole centimeter difference in elongation makes a big difference over a full active band length, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
That could change the recipe, if you ask me. Had to be.
It could be recipe. On the, I think the Sling Den podcast that Nathan was on, I heard him talking about how the season that you get the latex from the trees makes a difference too. So sometimes that might affect it. And I would imagine that if you're GZK, like you're selling so much latex in China that you probably can't just harvest it all in one season. You might just be forced to year round be making latex.
Yeah. I don't even know how he would get that much stock to even last the year. I mean, he's huge over there, and he's quite popular over here. So it's kind of like fuck, I don't know,
Yeah. So maybe that is another reason why. Maybe that's something that when you're like the Chinese shooters just deal with, I guess.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe they're testing their elongations right off the roll, and they have some kind of formula similar to what we're trying to come up with, and they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
possible. I know back in the day, I started off with Precise. It seemed to be like one of the biggest brands that were out there, them and GZK. And I saw some guys shooting them, and I found them pretty good. But there was also a market that was flooded with we'll call them contraband bands, where they
Yeah.
were selling them
Especially.
on AliExpress, and they were fake. They weren't even theirs.
Yeah.
They were just putting them in
Especially the Precise ones.
Yeah, they were huge.
Especially the Precise ones. Yeah, I think that just taking like a 1/4 inch wide strip right off the edge when you first get a band, and maybe just testing that is the way to go. I think that the manufacturers for latex right now, we're making a big deal about latex, but I want to say this out loud. I don't personally think there's a huge difference between modern Slingshot latex brand to brand.
No.
Actually, it's funny because a couple of weeks back, maybe 2 months ago, Nathan called me and he was like, "What do you think about our latex compared to what's on the market right now?" And I was basically like, "It's all the same, man. Like, it's all so similar." I think that the only things that matter now are those things like the consistency and the consistency in terms of like breakage, the consistency in terms of stretch ratio. Like, I think that those are the only real things that matters, because when you're new to slingshots, you don't have any clue what that stuff means. And people who are into the sport and are really in it are so specific with their own setup that you can't appease those people. So, but like I basically said, like, I don't think it's that much different, honestly. I still shoot it because it's simple shot and I'm with you guys. And I shot that before I was with them. So
yeah,
it's not like I had to transition into a new band. I was already using it.
Yeah.
So what different? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. But if it's consistent and it's good and it's reliable, and when I get it, it feels the same all the time, and I can feel confident that my breakages are going to happen at the pouch end.
Yeah.
If they happen.
And there was so much talk about BSB back in the day, and I'll even state it right now. Like, BSB 0.45 is one of my favorite elastics. That stuff is fantastic. You get crazy speed with it. The draw is pretty nice. I mean, that's probably another one too. I should check with a scale and see what the draw weight is, and do this little efficiency score to see what we're at with it. But the thing that brought me away from there was sometimes I'd open up a roll and there would be spots that I could pretty much see through, or there was little drip marks in it. And on that elastic, when it broke straight down the band, and I was getting whips back in my face.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, man, I love this elastic, and I'll shoot it and I'll take those hits. But it's, when I got into Gong Chi or Omega Slings, for me, that was like, okay, well, I don't have any of these issues at all.
Yeah.
But here's a question. When you're a long draw shooter, so you tend to cut your
I'm a short draw.
Oh, a short draw, yeah. But you do both, right? Like, I see you shoot back here, but maybe that's more.
I shoot a lot of pickle fork, and I draw that long. Yeah.
Okay, because I see you shooting more of these longer style shots with pickles a lot. So I was thinking that maybe you were transitioning into that or whatever. But I've always wondered, sometimes for me, because I shoot such a small active. My draw is only 29.5 inches, and I'm using an elastic that has a really long elongation. Like, Gong Chi has got something like 7. It stretches,
Yeah.
Omega Sling stretches,
Omega too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually cut on the 6-inch width, and I'll actually take a little bit off. I only need 140 millimeters, or for 114 centimeters, and then I tie in my pouch attached to the fork. We're good, and then I've got my little extra there, which is everything kind of dials in. But I often wondered if it would make a difference on how the band breaks depending on which angle you cut it on. If you're cutting it along the length or if you're cutting it along the square. Because for me, on that short end, when I'm pulling, I never had that break weird. But the other one, I used to cut at 140. I used to cut right down at the end on the lengthwise
Yeah.
on BSB, and I had that problem. So I don't know. I don't know if there's like a grain to it, if that makes any sense. You know, if the latex has like strands going in a way, and it's kind of pressed down. I don't know how their shit works.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know. I would, so if I had to guess, I would say it doesn't make any difference, but I don't know. That's what I wanted, and when I wanted speed, it's like fast ammo. I cut mine at 180 now.
Yep.
So even for short draw, it's not long enough to cut across the roll. But I don't know. I've always cut across the roll. I've always cut the same way, like lengthwise. And I had that problem with specific bands. So I had that problem with GZK, green and black all the time. And I had that problem with Sniper Sling, black. Where I would get random breakages along the band somewhere, and they wouldn't always be across the band this way.
Yeah.
They would sometimes be lengthwise. And I cut those lengthwise on the roll. I would think that if the way that the latex is made, basically, from what I understand, it wouldn't make any difference because I think it's just poured into a pan, basically.
Well, this is what Chuck and Steele says here. He says latex goes through a stage in the making where it is heated up and relaxed. So I would say no. So maybe it doesn't make a difference which way you cut it.
Yeah, I mean, if you notice it, then you notice it. You know, if it's something that you're running into, it might be something. But I would say that that's probably not typical of what happens.
I might put on my lab coat again and give that a try and just cut like 5 band sets lengthwise, 5 band sets shortwise, and just note how they break. I'll put like band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, and so on.
That's another thing too. Like when you were talking about like the BSB, the quality issue of the BSB, like when you get a good band set, it's really good.
Really good, yeah.
Dude, I feel the same way now that I shoot 8mm steel. I feel the same way about TheraBand Gold. Like TheraBand Gold for 8mm steel, I think is good. It's real thick.
The only thing is it's 0.64 or 0.65 thickness. I measured it at work, or 0.62. It had a very big variation in it in the spots that I checked. But I mean, you're right up there in 0.6, 0.64, 0.65, depending on, you know.
Yeah, so what I would typically use now is like a 0.4 or 0.5 because they're fast compared to what 0.4 or 0.5 was in the TheraBand measurement. I think the black was 0.4, I want to say, or 0.45 maybe. I don't remember. It's pretty close to a 0.4 though. It might even be a little like a 0.38. I can't remember. But I think that the TheraBand like silver was something like 0.5, and then the TheraBand Gold was like 0.65 or point. It was supposed to be 0.65, but the same band you could make would have different measurements across it.
Yeah.
And that was the big problem that I had with them. That sometimes I would make a band set awesome. I would get 500 shots. My speeds were fine, not blazing by any stretch of the imagination, but they were fine. And it would be awesome. And then I would cut another band set with the same square that I cut, and I'd get 75 shots, and my bands, 4 kits, and my bands would be all weird, and it was just the quality issue of that. And again, that's not meant to be Slingshot latex. That's meant to be exercise.
Yeah, exercise stuff, and yeah. But I will say this though. I had heard so many guys in the UK that were talking about using TheraBand, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a roll of this shit and see what the deal is. I picked up a roll of it. I went outside and I shot it, and I got to be honest, I got 300 feet per second with it, shooting 8mm steel. I mean, let's keep in mind, it's plenty of elastic. to shoot 8 mil steel. Plenty of elastic. But I still reached that mark. I was still getting 200 shots out of it, which was okay. But I mean, the draw weight was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It was pretty heavy in comparison. But at the time, it really served its purpose. I mean, that was the best stuff out there for the longest time. You know. Although
Yeah, it was.
I wouldn't mind if it tried I can't remember what color was just under that, if it was a silver or a black or whatever it is. They had another color that was just under there that I've heard some guys sing the praises of, and I'm like, man, I should have given this a test to see. You know, it was thinner. Maybe the traction rates would have been quicker. I don't know.
TheraBand Silver is, I think, 0.5, or it's like a 0.52 or something. You know, they're not exactly even. But and then TheraBand Black, which I have a bunch of. I think TheraBand Black is the best clay ammo latex out there.
Really?
And
oh, wow.
yeah. The TheraBand Black, you have to cut it like kind of wide though. And it is terrible in the cold. It is really, really bad in the cold.
It works like a swing.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
I always joke about how you don't need a catch box because you can shoot and then run down and catch it.
Yeah. That's bad.
But it's really great for clay ammo. It's got a awesome stretch ratio, and the thickness thing that TheraBand Gold has, I don't find that in TheraBand Black at all.
Oh wow.
It's very, very consistent comparatively speaking.
Interesting. I remember going through all these bands that I was testing, and I got into GNOL for a while, and that stuff was just freaking savage. Like I had one of those little spinners, you know, you screw them into a tree and they kind of flip around there. It was like a 30 millimeter flipper. I hit it with 3 shots and I turned it into a spoon. Like, it was fast, but it was also 0.7. You know, I was shooting 0.7. I never got it on a chronograph or anything like that to see what it was. But after I tried this, I tried to buy it again, and the only places that sold it that I was able to find was slingshooting.com. And they had 2 locations, one in China, one in Spain. Spain wouldn't ship to North America, so I had to buy it from China. China was out of stock, and they're like, "Yeah, they're not making it anymore." And I'm like, "That's a mistake," because when people realize how fast you can shoot this shit with 9.5 millimeter steel, they're gonna freak out. Like,
yeah, I never tried that.
Let's get the videos rolling, buddy. I'll spread the shit everywhere, but they wouldn't bring it back. I argued with them. I did everything I could, but nope.
I have a sneaky conspiracy theory about how a lot of the Chinese guys don't ship to the United States. So like when you go on some of these websites, you can like put stuff in your cart and it shows as being available, and then when you get to the checkout process, it says like this is out of stock. Like after you put in all your info, and it'll say like this is out of stock. We're expected to get it in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, this is kind of suspicious because it's I can put it in my cart. It doesn't show as being out of stock when a lot of the other products on the same site do.
That was exactly the case too. And after I kicked up a stink, they wrote down as sold out after that point. I'm like, well, fuck, how come I was able to put it in my cart? Oh, we think that maybe multiple people tried to buy it at the same time and blah, blah. I don't buy it. That's horseshit. Yeah. That's
I think that they don't charge very much for shipping on the site sometimes, and then they don't want to send it to North America because it would cost them an arm and a leg.
What do we see here? Speed is great, but once I switched to Omega White .45, I got my bands cut at the right length, and my accuracy went way up. That's exactly what we're talking about, Steven. But we've actually discovered a way to really put a value, like a number, towards that. So you should be able to mimic that, improve it, or decrease it depending on what you're going to be shooting. It's quite interesting. We went through that just in the beginning of the video. I don't know if you were here or not for that, but the breakdown of it's very, very good. And actually, that's what I'm shooting right now on my Avro. I've got some 0.45 Omega. I would like to know. I never measured this one either for draw weight, but the 0.45, the white, typically in summertime I shoot the .45 green. It's got a little bit more draw weight to it, but I think probably a little bit more speed, but the draw weight on this is just beautiful. Yeah, it's plenty of zip in the old garage. That's for damn sure.
What's the temperature in your garage?
Oh, probably somewhere around 8 to 10 degrees. It's not very warm. Yeah, my feet are fucking freezing. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm in my basement where it's a nice and cool 65 or something like that. So I'm not sure what that goes to or in Celsius, but it's comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, this is I would definitely be cold if I didn't have my sweater on. I'm still feeling a little bit of a chill. I got I could show you here. I got some. I'll show you here real quick. Give me a second. You'll probably laugh a little bit. You'll see what I'm standing in. There we go. A little bit of snow inside the house there. You know how it is. Canadian as fuck, boys. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the plows passing by, which means I got work to do a little bit later. Yeah, we've got a good 30 centimeters of snow coming down today. 30 to 45, they're saying. So, yeah, second time in a week. It's going to be fun.
Jesus.
Yeah, driving to work on Monday is going to be a motherfucker, let me tell you. And the last week when it happened, I was actually removing the snow with my snowblower, and I opened up my garage door, and the snow was 2 panels high from all the wind gusts on there. I was like, oh shit. The door went open and all the snow just poured in. I had to shovel it all out, and then started going down, and I broke a shear pin on my snowblower. So I ended up just cleaning out with like half an auger going. And then I got about halfway through, and my son's like, "Hey, your shear pins, one of your rollers not working." So I tilted her over, shut her down, and then put the new pin in, and got the work done. But it was a bit of a pain in the ass. But I should be good to go for tomorrow morning.
What about time of year does the snow usually stop for you?
We've had snow all the way into April, so usually it's end of March, early April. There was a bunch of years back we got something like 25 centimeters of snow on like the first week of April, which was terrible. But it only lasted for like maybe 2 weeks and disappeared, like melted really quick.
That's the crazy part. We get about the same. I guess April's usually we'll get some snows in April on a very rare occasion, but usually that's about the same time as us. It always seems to like lull through March and give you this false sense of hope.
Yeah.
And then at some point in March or even April, it might snow like 3 inches and cause havoc for 2 days and then melt again.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because me and my buddies, we used to have always in March, there was always these days where it would warm up to the point where you can go outside in shorts. And it was like all of a sudden it went up to 20 degrees. So we were all running outside in our shorts. We'd throw the football around on the street, and you'd see mountains of snow on the side of people's properties. And we're chucking the football around out in the street, having some fun. And we look forward to those days to get outside and have some sun. It was just so nice to have some sun. Every now and then. I mean, I'm not that much farther north than you, I don't think. I mean,
not that much, no.
No, it's not that much farther, but the I leave for work in the morning. I'm at the door at 5:00 in the morning. Takes me an hour to get to work. We're 6:30, and usually I don't see sunshine until I'm indoors. So for the most part, I'll go out at lunch, or if I'm leaving the building to go into another section, I see a little bit of sun. But for the most part, by the time I'm getting home, I get about 1 hour of sunshine a day. So I'd get in my car and be driving home, seeing the sun. 4:00 hits, I got 30 minutes, and that's it. So it's 4:30. It's starting to get dark already, and it's funny how that kind of plays on you a little bit. That sunshine means a lot.
So I live at the easternmost part of the central time zone. There's 2 counties in Indiana that are on the central time zone, and I'm in the farther east county that's in central. So it gets dark early.
Early,
Yeah, we have we're the last one. We're the first ones to see the sun disappear in the time zone.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah, if you
Oh, wow.
drove, yeah, because it's as far east as you can go. The sun sets in the west. So if you're watching the sunset, the shadow is going to be traveling from east to west.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're so far east, we get dark early. And then when we do our stupid fucking time change
Oh, I hate it.
in March, we jump an hour ahead, and we're still light outside in the summer until about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. But I'll be talking to my buddy Will, who lives in southern Indiana. He technically lives further west than I do, but he's an hour ahead of us, and he's so I'll be talking to him. It'll be like 9 o'clock at night. The sun just set. It's twilight, and it's 10 o'clock there.
That's crazy, yeah.
I'm like, dude, I wish I had got some freaking sun at night in the summer or in the winter. I mean,
so how far do you have to drive before it switches into Eastern time? Is it something stupid like 30 minutes?
30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes.
It's crazy. Yeah, you could jog there in an hour and a half. You know.
Yeah.
You could jog to the past in an hour and a half. You know, or the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, it's so dumb. And the reason that we're on Central Time is because our two counties are considered the greater Chicago area.
Yep.
So we basically get all the news stations from Chicago, and we're basically considered like the greater Chicago area. And Chicago's on the Central Time zone.
Oh yeah. So they just lumped you in there.
Yep.
I got one of those spanky monkey little guys I'm shooting down there. It's 2 centimeters round, so it adds a nice challenge from my 23 feet that I'm at. Yeah. I'm a little short, but I've had it up for about 2 weeks, but I'm just about to cut it. It's very close. Oh,
I have one of those orange silicone clapping targets.
yeah, those are fun too. They make a nice sound.
They make a great sound.
They don't last very long though. No, especially in the cold. I used to set them up when I first started out. I had that bullshit swing set catch box that I had out in the backyard in the beginning, and we would shoot them outside in the cold, and we were hitting those with I was shooting 3/8 steel back then. I'd hit them, you just watch them explode. They turned to orange dust and just hit the ground pretty much. Yeah, it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't even that cold outside then. Oh yeah. But this is pretty interesting. I think I'm going to start implementing this in a lot of my band setups and see if I could really fine tune it and get a raise and lower a score at 10 meters, see how it shoots and all that kind of stuff. Here it kind of throws a little stick in the spokes, I guess you could say, with the cold. As it gets cold, I have no choice but to go up and wait. So like for example, today we're somewhere around -15, which is weird that it's snowing, but I mean, when it gets this cold, shooting outside, I have no choice but to go up, and it's usually you hit that 0.6. I have to hit like 0.6, 0.65 for 8 mil steel to keep that speed going. Otherwise, it's I'm dropping off like crazy.
It gives another benefit too, Mark. I feel free to run away with it because now I know from experience that speed test videos do well in YouTube.
Yeah.
And it gives us another way to, put more videos out talking about that. So you could, make your video and under the principle that you're going to be testing speed, and then in the video explain that you don't care about the speed. What you're caring about is the efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a good point, because in the last few band tests that I did, I tried to make that point, like guys, the draw weight's more important than anything really here. Like the speed is good, but the draw weight's most important. And nobody seems to give a shit. It's like just speed, 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 speed. And I was telling you in our conversation, I feel like I'm doing the community a disservice by doing these things, because everyone's just like worried about the speed, but it's not about that. The reason why I made my switch into Gong Chi at that point was because, I mean, the numbers kind of proved it. It was the highest efficiency score out of all those bands that we got, and I was shooting great for that. But the one fault I would say I had on it was when I set up a band set for me to shoot, where I've got that little extra stretch, it would drop into right around that 270 mark, which is like at the min, I think, that I liked for 250 for 10 meters or 15 meters really. But I really started to had to adjust, which is why I made the switch over to Omega. Now Omega, I'm hitting 300, and when I do that drop down, I'm still hitting 280, 285, and I've got a much lighter draw weight than what we did off that max draw weight, which was really nice. About 280.
What's your like typical draw weight that you would expect on a band that you like?
Around 7.5. When I'm setting them up, I like them around 7.5. That's
couldn't find my luggage scale.
My 0.45 are even lighter. Like my 0.45 are around 6.5, which is sexy as hell. That's amazing. And when I was talking with Gasper back in the day, he was also shooting around 5.5, 6, 6.2 on his setups, which was just insane.
Yeah.
He wanted the lightest possible, and he would stand there in this position, getting ready to shoot, and like not even budge. It was just crazy how light it was. His hand, he would let go of his ball, and his hand wouldn't even move. It was weird. Like there was none of this.
Yeah, that is the thing that I'm trying my hardest to work on, because I have like bad panic, like target panic sometimes, and I'll flinch a lot. And if you watch like videos where I do a lot of shooting, you'll hear me say it all the time, like, I flinched, I flinched.
I do the same.
Yeah, I just feel like that part of the release, like I can line up my shot, and I can take my time and line up my shot and see it before I shoot. But that moment when I'm about to release, like doing that, and you're like, oh God.
I would get it on my frame hand where I'd do this. Like I'd pull back for some reason. I'm like, fuck, stop that, man.
Yeah, and you're just trying to let it go.
Yeah.
Not make it go.
And what I started doing was when I started counting in my head. So when I'm releasing a shot, I would do like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then drop my arm. Because I noticed in some of my videos, I kind of got into a habit after, because I do these stupid long videos of me shooting sometimes where I'm like 3 hours in, and then I start doing this, shooting and dropping my arm. And I'm like, no. 1, 2, drop it. And I had to count it. At least get a 1 Mississippi out of there before I drop my hand. And it's helping.
It's
helping,
yeah.
But I'm
any of those like
count.
Any of those little things where you're thinking to yourself, like, do this, do this, do this, do this, it can make you panic a little. Yeah. So if you take a step back and think to yourself, like, how can I avoid the panic? Where can I make myself better, and use the talk that's going on in your head to calm myself? And I always think, like, I'm watching my shot before it happens, and then when I'm shooting, I'm just staring into the soul of the target. So then all I'm seeing is like the black void of the spot where my ball is going to hit, and it's going down. Like, that's the last thing I think every time I shoot, or the last thing I try to get myself to think every time I shoot is, it's right there. You're dead.
Yeah. And I know I did that video a while back where I was talking about my sight picture and how I use my sight picture to get on. And I had a problem in the beginning where my eye was focusing in on the target, the fork, the target, the fork, the target, the fork, and it was causing me issues. And when I started focusing on the target only, I found that on my draw, my hand was doing a lot of this. And I was looking at my target, trying to get my thing to land on my target. When I switched only to the fork, and I started lining up on the fork and staring down my bands, my grip became much more steady, and I started shooting it at that point. And then I realized, like what you were talking about, thinking and having the target panic. The one thing I tried to focus on was keeping my hand in position at the end of the shot, like we'll call it a follow through. But I noticed I do my best shooting when there's nothing going on in there at all. Everything just kind of I just hit a groove. I hit a focus, and it's like click, click, and it just keeps going. And I'm just like, everything else just disappears. And that's where the best shooting for me anyway happens. Is trying not to get the body mechanics going in the beginning. You're gonna have to think things through, but eventually it just became like robotics, second nature. I don't know what you want to call it, but the best thing is when I stopped going berserk inside my head, trying to focus through every single step, and just having my ammo in the same spot, loading the pouch with my two hands that everyone busts my balls for, all these kind of things, doing these things. But I do the exact same things over and over and over again. When you watch me shoot, I try to do the exact same things over and over and over again. And the follow through part of it now has become a second nature thing, which is I find myself getting away from that point when I start to flinch. But when I do get tired after shooting over a long period of time, it comes back. So it's that's where I go into the good practice versus bad practice, because whenever I start shooting and I get into one of those nice runs where I'm hitting a 40 mil flipper and I'm getting it like fucking 20 times in a row, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And then I miss a couple, and then I hit 2 more times, good shot, I wrap it up and I call it quits. That's what I've started doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's only so much that you can do with your brain at one time. And so the more, like Bruce Lee said, that perfection is not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing else to take away.
Yeah.
So trying to eliminate all of those things and making them automatic is probably the best way to go. I think that's the goal of all shooters, should be to not have to go through all those checks, because you're doing it without thinking.
Yeah. Only the task. That's it. Yeah. It's interesting. It's cool actually to talk with other guys. Like I don't know if everyone really digs in deep on exactly what they're doing, kind of like I do sometimes. But I know there's definitely a lot of other guys out there, and I like to pick their brains to see what their process is,
Yeah.
And sometimes you get the answer like, well, I don't really know, I just shoot. But they're excellent shooters. But what really got you to that spot? Is it just repetitions that got you there? Did you do like did you give yourself a path to kind of get there? Like, what exactly did you do to get to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
I think that being in the position that I'm in, where like I get to be around a lot of people who haven't interfaced with modern slingshots at all.
Yeah.
Like, I get to go and like show people who are new to the sport how to shoot. And when I can get them hitting targets that they didn't think could be done with a slingshot, but now they're doing it all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I can hit, a soda can at 12 meters or 12 yards. I can hit a soda can at 12 yards. I didn't think you could do that with a slingshot. And I did it within 20 shots or 30 shots.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And imagine taking that and just practicing 3 or 4 times a week, 50 to 100 shots a day for a year. Now all of a sudden you're better than 99.9% of the population of the planet.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It takes almost no real effort, and you're better than almost every other person on the planet. There's a very small group of people that can outshoot you, and even some of them on a bad day couldn't do it. So
yeah, I even for me, like where I made like a pretty quick from starting off, and I guess it was 2018 or 19. I can't remember what year it was, but I started off in 2018. I did my first video. Didn't shoot again until 2019, just before COVID was about to start. I was hearing it on the news, and I started shooting from there. And I did that Quest for Accuracy playlist, or whatever you want to call it. That Quest for Accuracy thing, where I'd go out and I'd take 50 shots on a 30 mil flipper and calculate how many hits I got. And I went up, started shooting that, but within 2 weeks, I made a pretty good dent. Like the first time I went out, I was only hitting it 8 times, and a lot of those will say it was luck. I was in and around that area, but I slowly but surely increased to around 20 in about 6 weeks. that's a big difference. Like I'm on my way coming close to 50%, and we were in there 6 or 8 weeks at that point, which was pretty nice. And I had changed frames, because in the beginning I was shooting the GZK, the hell was it called? The Hammer Pro OTT version with a stupid little sight on it. And I didn't quite understand how all the fork width thing worked with anchor point, in relation to your anchor point. I didn't understand all that yet.
Yeah.
And then I got the Titan Hunter from Catapult Carnage, the medium Titan Hunter, which was a 90 millimeter. And just by luck, I landed on my sweet spot. And all of a sudden, I started hitting that thing way more. I went from like 8 to 10, maybe 15, to all of a sudden I'm hitting it 20, just by changing Slingshot, which was weird, And then it kind of got my brain turning a little bit, and slowly but surely I started doing it. But that whole thing that I was doing was weird, because I think I probably could have done better faster. But every time I made a hit, I would change the position of the camera so the video wouldn't look so boring. So I'd move, change the camera, and then try to reset and get everything back. It was bad and good, because if I just stood there and I shot those shots, I would have been in the same position shooting all the time, like you would in a knockdown tournament, I guess.
Yeah.
You shoot 10 shots, you're in the same position, you're locked into your position, but you're not resetting. So for those of you guys that are out there that are hunting and doing that kind of thing, this is probably a good exercise for you, is to actually take a shot, hit your target, move around a little bit, change an angle, and take that shot again. And it makes you reset everything from A to Z and go through it. So getting my shot sequence was very important doing that. Or developing my shot sequence, it was very important doing that. But also, I probably hurt my scores quite a bit just by having to reset from A to Z every single time.
That was a perfect shot. That shot that I just shot.
It sounded nice.
Dude, everything lined up so perfect, and I could have hit the grain of rice on end on that one.
Oh, that's crazy.
That was just a perfect shot. But I think about that too. So I saw that perfect shot. Now I'm gonna remember this. That was a perfect shot. That was what I want it to look like every single time. When it doesn't look like that and the shot isn't perfect, I have to compare those. What happened on that shot? What happened on the other shot? Sometimes like I analyze my own shooting in terms of not just how many times I can hit the target in a row, or how many times I can hit it out of 50 or whatever number, but I'm also analyzing it in terms of what was happening on the misses. Like, I think that the misses tell you more about what's going on.
100%. Yeah. I like what Coin wrote here. He says, for me, adding some competition makes it fun. And just keep in mind, guys, we're talking about this, really analyzing all our techniques and whatnot. But really, in the end, it is about having fun. Even if you're at a competition, if you're out on a hunt, whatever it is, shooting, getting your ass kicked by Coin, it's all about fun. It's all about fun. That's it. Have a good time doing it. But if you ever want to, if you find that you're hitting a can and you want to be able to flip to a 40 mil flipper or a 25 mil flipper or whatever it is, there's certain things that you can definitely do to really, really dial in your shot. And if you're ever planning on shooting at a tournament and you want to do better and really, really kick some ass, all of these little things that Jordan and I are talking about today could be good little tidbits that you could use to possibly use or throw out your style of shooting. It really depends on what works for you. But for me, when I was starting out, there really wasn't much out there. on in the ways of technique or anything like that. You had Gamekeeper John, who was putting out some videos. You had Chris from Catapult Carnage, who was putting out videos. A lot of these guys did a lot of how-tos, like this is how you shoot, point at your target, pull back to your anchor point, release, boom, you hit your target. And it was cool, but there wasn't stuff that break everything down, like release tips, like keeping your elbow high, keeping your elbow low, making sure it releases from your hand properly. Should you hold it in front of the ball? Should you hold like this so your pouch stays open? What are the kind of things that are going to give you a better release? Should you grip your pouch hard? Should you grip your pouch soft? Should you have heavy bands? Should you have light bands? All of these things can kind of get you there. And when I started doing my channel and doing these tutorials, this was part of the reason why I did it, was trying to pass on some of the things that I figured out by shooting thousands of rounds in my backyard trying to figure shit out with no information. Nathan had a bunch of good videos that were out there too. And these guys gave me a bunch of information, but I find, like me, I could tell you, somebody could tell me something, but when I see it, I got it. And that's why when I did that review or that video on release, on the issues of release, like speed bumping your ammo, seeing what it does on the target, plucking your ammo, like releasing aggressively or gripping it too hard. All of these things kind of worked its way up. Now, some people are going to shoot better holding in front of the ball than holding like this. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. But in the end, like Gamekeeper John does hold in front of the ball. And he's got a great release, and the guy's a savage. So really, it's going to come down to it. But when you're learning and you're figuring shit out, you got to try some things. If it works for you, if it makes a difference, score. If it doesn't, let that shit slide. Move on to the next one. Doesn't mean it's bad information. Just means it didn't work for you.
Yeah, there's a saying that we used to use in that they used to use in like the bodybuilding world, and it was, you don't rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your training.
Mm-hmm.
So when we would be like, in competition or doing things like that, it's like, well, if all of your systems are in place, then you don't have to worry, because you'll fall to the level of your systems. If all of the systems that you're using to get this shot on target are right for you, you won't have to remember them all. You won't have to think about them all, because all of us, I can hit that target 3 times in a row, 10 times in a row, 12 times in a row. Why can't I hit it 100 times in a row? I can. I just haven't done it. So the if I'm relying on my potential to do it, then I would never miss. But you can't rely on your potential. You have to rely on the systems that you use to get yourself through each shot. And the better that those are, the better you're going to be shooting.
And a great example of that is actually Chuck and Steele. I don't know if you saw his video the other day, but I can't remember how many he hit, but it was like 40 shots out of 50 or something like that or 45 shots. I can't remember what the amount was. He mentioned it a little bit earlier in the chat, but he smoked that thing over and over and over and over and over again. And that just gets, you have to contribute that to his ability to recreate every single shot over and over and over again. His consistency is like off the charts,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That's how basically any level of like professional athlete, that's how the top athletes are. They have systems in place that allow them to keep being that way. And they really don't vary from that system.
And when you're talking, even like for athletes and whatnot, there's many guys that are out there that are have the genetics to have a higher potential than some others. But you got some guys that don't have that genetics but still excel, and they're still legends in their sports that they do, not because of whatever, but they use what they have to the highest level than somebody who's got like I use MMA for an example. You got a guy like John Jones, guys like a prototype. He's long, he's built, he's he's got all these things going for him. But definitely there are going to be people out there who are going to be able to beat him that have similar to genetics as him, or 42, I think. Yeah, he said 42 of 50. It's freaking ridiculous. But you got these guys that are going to be able to take him down that are maybe better wrestlers, have shorter arms, shorter legs, you know, that are going to be able to outperform him on the ground. These are all things that are going to be there. It's gonna happen at some point, you know. But he's a
Yeah,
tough one to pick. This guy's a freaking legend. But
yeah, I think a really good example is Tom Brady, because Tom Brady, like, physically isn't super gifted at anything.
no, but his
But the
mental
thing
game is
that's
savage, man. That guy's something else. He doesn't make mistakes. Very rare.
no, dude, he just the way he prepares is unlike anything, unlike anyone in history. Like, he knows he's gonna win before he plays you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even without the physical gifts that all these other guys have. And then you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how familiar you are with the NFL, but Aaron Rodgers has all the physical gifts.
Oh yeah.
And he's a winner, and he preps hard, but he's got one Super Bowl. One. Tom Brady has been to 10. He's won 7.
It's nuts.
There's just a difference between the two of them, and the difference is in their attitude. Aaron Rodgers is a prima donna.
Mhm.
He thinks he should just be given the Super Bowl trophy every year. Tom Brady is a guy who's going to beat anyone that thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl.
And doesn't take any of it lightly. None of it. Everybody's the greatest challenge. That's the interesting thing, you know? And that's all part of it. Mental game, man. It's real.
It is.
Didn't he make a mistake when he got married? Maybe he did, Paul. Maybe he did.
I mean, he married a hot
Giselle.
Brazilian supermodel, so I don't know how big of a mistake that was, but
no joke. Oh man. I don't know how many people out there have their own chronograph. Ooh, that was a dirty miss. I don't know if people have their own chronograph at home, but I'm curious to if anybody's going to use this method to kind of give their elastic a little bit of a score and see. Oh, that was good. To see if they can really dial it in and see if they can really dial it in and see if they can drop their speed, drop their draw weight. Sorry, and get a really good ratio going.
you think about it too, like that score that you have. What was your score for the Gongchi?
38.02.
38. So
Yeah.
in order to make that better, that number represents the feet per second for every pound of draw weight. So
Yeah.
it's going 38 feet per second for every pound of draw weight you add to it. So think about that. If you decrease the poundage by 1 pound, somehow, are you going to decrease the speed by 38 feet per second?
I don't think so.
So then it would become more efficient.
Yeah, more efficient, but the speed limit may go below what I need it to be. You know what I mean?
Well,
like right now,
that's
I was
what I'm
at
saying.
I was 289. So I guess there's got to be a sweet spot in there where you reach the upper limit. I mean, it'll take some messing around. Like I know for me, that 270 is probably the lowest limit I want to go at to shoot from. So I don't know if I could really drop that much more, like maybe a half pound that would get me into that 270 range. But at that point, I'm going too slow, I think.
Yeah.
For anything other than.
Well, that was my point. So like if you would have to drop, for every pound of draw weight you take off, you'd have to drop the speed by 38 in order for that efficiency to be the same. So it maybe isn't even about the efficiency number. It's more or less like what the efficiency that you're going to get for whatever goal you have.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, exactly.
So like if your goal is to stay like, see, I think it's more important to have bands that perform the same in the circumstances, whether or not it increases in draw weight by a pound or two or decreases a pound or two. I want that same performance because my ball speed is going to be important.
Yep.
But at the same time, when I'm shooting a band like I was describing earlier, like Sniper Sling, and I like the bands, I like how they feel and how they shoot, even though they're not that efficient. Does that make a big difference to me then? Like, do I really care that much?
Yeah, I mean the bands that I like to shoot the most. I mean those are my top three: Sniper Sling Yellow, Omega Slings, and Gong Chi. All very different. All very different. I find probably my absolute best shooting band out of the .5s is probably the Gong Chi because of the draw weight. But if you're ever shooting in different distances, it becomes a problem, which is why I slipped over to the Omega Slings, which was pretty close. I mean, there's what was it, 34.57, which is pretty close. It's pretty close. Just about, I guess, 3.5 or something like that. 3.5 pounds difference, something like that. But what a difference, man! Like, I don't know, that little bit of difference made a big difference in being able to shoot from farther ranges. Oh, that was dirty.
Why did they call it amber belt when it comes in black or white? Because amber makes it.
It's a hard-working girl, that Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it band tape now. I don't call it amber belt.
I think at the time that was the only color it came out of, and the color just stuck. What are you shooting there, Jordan? Forgot to ask you.
The Scout LT2 Pro.
Very nice.
I put the handle weight in there too, man. This thing is a chunk.
Yeah, I like the on my old Scout LT. I like the handle weight in there too. It was pretty nice. Does the old weight fit in the new one? Same weight? Yeah, I'll try. I have the LT2. I think I'll transfer mine over. I don't shoot the regular LT that often anymore. The most time I shoot it is I have the original LT when they first came out with the aluminum ones. I have one of the silver ones. I think I got the weight in that one. It's either in there or in my orange one. I got 3 of them.
Dude, it's heavy. Like I wish
Nice,
I wish I had like a food scale, but it's super heavy. It's super thick. And that handle weight in there, it makes a big difference. It's like it's way heavier than the plastic one. I mean, it's probably double the weight, maybe more. It's heavier than the Scout or than the Axiom X2. I mean, it's very obviously heavier. You can't really add a handle weight to the Axiom.
I oh, we're back.
Say it again.
We must have hit that 2-hour mark. Every time it does that, it shuts me down for a second. The handle weight, I really like the difference in the handle weight. The extra weight really makes a difference in how it shoots for me. I much prefer the extra weight in it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Axiom X is a little weighty. It's not, I mean, it's solid aluminum, but you can't put a weight in the handle. So, yeah. I mean, you could, I guess, put something in there, but I don't know. It's not meant for it.
No. I wonder if there's like you know how in fishing lines you can get one with a lead core in it. They use it for deep sea fishing a lot of times. I wonder if you could buy that and just do a little small wrap in the narrow waist part of it. Just do a little narrow small wrap with it and just kind of whatever, just to add
like
that little extra
in there.
Yeah. Paul, you getting dirty on us there, buddy? Oh. Dropping glasses on the floor. Dropping glasses on the floor. That's always a good start to the day.
Have I mentioned lately I'm a champ?
That's got to be coin.
That's definitely coin.
I'm late in the coffee shop. We're trying out a new coffee today too. Vomit. We've got some Muskoka Howling Wolf today in the pot, and it's really good stuff. ground the grinds up this morning, and I'm about 3 coffees deep. I'm about to go run a marathon. We're doing pretty good. The hearts are racing. Yeah.
Missed again.
Man, are you guys hearing that wind? Is it picking it up, or are you just hearing the heater?
It sounds like a plastic bag in the distance.
Yeah, it's crazy. The wind's just going, man.
I think my bands. I think I've been shooting these bands too long. I don't know how many shots I have through these bands, but I haven't since I got this like 2 months ago. I haven't put a new band set on it. This is still the
Wow,
original band set.
That's one thing you gotta give Simple Shot, man. Their bands last. They really do.
But
Is that the
I think it's
0.4 you got on
fallen.
there?
What's that?
Is that the 0.4 you got on there?
Yeah. 0.4, 20 to 12.
I was chatting
180.
with Can Vandal a while back, and he was telling me about the 0.4 was really nice stuff. I was gonna order it, but the shipping was too much, so I gave it I backed up on it, but I kind of regret it because the from what I hear, the 0.4 is really nice. I'm a fan of the 0.5, but the 0.4 make it even a little bit lighter would be brilliant. He seemed to get plenty of zip on it too. It was like pretty nice.
Yeah, like I said, I can cut them across the roll. So if you're looking to get some speed out of it, I mean, I think I'm only throwing these like about 220 feet per second. Might not even be going that fast. They're so long. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I can tell my ball is dropping from where the pin is. It's dropping just underneath the pin, so I have to use like where the band, almost kind of where the band is attaching now.
Yeah, yeah. So you're getting they're starting to wear out probably if they're dropping. Yeah.
I mean, I might be closing in on 1,000 shots through these.
It's crazy. But that's also another big difference too that I've noticed when you don't max out your bands or you're not trying to get the most speed out of them. The big difference like that. If we're talking here center, okay, this is full speed. This is really stretchy cut bands. So we got the active is much longer. You're gonna do this. You're gonna be way closer to maximum speed with maximum longevity. It's like kind of like a seesaw. If you really put a lot of tension on those bands, they're not going to last as long. Yes, they're going to be faster, and there is a place for that. Like if you're going to be hunting, I think you want to get a little bit more heat out of it, as long as you can control the release. But man, when you max out those bands, you're getting speed out of them. But if you're getting 100 shots, you're lucky, and that's most bands, really.
So when I draw like this is my anchor point.
Yep. Yeah, you got plenty. Yeah, you got plenty.
I have
on there.
6 more inches of stretch.
I think I got about 4. I got about 4 inches on mine.
I just crushed that target.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, it's done. They're dying. They're dying.
I know a while back I was testing out the GZK Clear 0.4, which was very disappointing because the performance of the band was actually quite nice. It shot really well. Everything was good. But the life of them was just absolute trash. And you can see an actual real drop off. Like as you're starting to come towards the end of the band's life, you would see the speed just drop right off on those things, which was weird. Coin will be sniffing them, telling us which band they are.
Yeah, I have 0.5s now on my Axiom here, and I just shot about 2 inches above that target.
Whenever I'm shooting chucking at 10 meters, I usually set up my whole setup so I'm point on with the fork. If I'm shooting at a distance like 15 meters, I'll usually just aim slightly higher with my fork. When I'm shooting 20 meters, I'm down about an eighth of an inch from the fork, and so on. I just keep on dropping it down by an eighth, and that's how I do. But usually, I like a really really sharp corner that I shoot off of. You see how sharp that is? So when I'm shooting off that fork, I'm usually splitting my target in half anyway, and I slowly but surely just kind of creep up on it. So if I've got my bands tight and I'm shooting at a distance, I'm splitting my target, but I'm right around here at 20 meters.
So for my point of reference is on that fiber optic pin. If I am straight on, I think that the fiber optic is a little too high on the frame, and I'll shoot to the left. So I'll either be grazing the edge of like the left edge of the target, or I will miss it to the left, and it'll be fly hair to the left. So what I do, and I've done this for a long time with almost all my frames, is I just cant my frame slightly, and that canting actually makes me stand straight up. So like if I shoot and my forks are straight, I want to lean over the forks. But if I can't, I see two bands. So then I just stand straight up and it's one band.
I've started doing the same thing, Jordan. I had noticed that when I was trying to keep my forks completely stacked onto each other, my head tilt was actually my enemy. I was leaning. I found myself end up hunching over to try to shoot my shots, and it wasn't normal, and it kind of threw everything out of whack. And as long as you have that one band, whether you hold your thing straight or you can't, and I slightly can't also, which was actually going to be a new video for me that I was going to be releasing, was if you're having problems with the right and left. I have a couple of frames that I always shoot left with, and I solved that by slightly canting the frame. I canted toward the left, and the problem went away. And it was because of that. It would start bringing my shot a little bit more over to the right, still aiming over the fork, but that's where your head tilt can like fuck up everything. It's a bit of a mess. So I find standing up, like you said, standing up straight, keeping your body straight, your form straight, everything feels good, and just looking down your bands and slightly canting it, you end up having that one band look, even canted. And that's an important thing. I think that one band thing is an important thing, but being hunched over and looking down your bands, trying to force your forks to be square, is not a good thing.
See, what Chuck and Steele was asking, do you guys really use such fine points when you aim? Do you mean that generally? I guess what I'm asking is, do you use the same point of aim every time? I do use the same point of aim every time at the same distance. So if I'm shooting 10 meters, then yeah, I'm using the same point of aim. If I'm shooting like in a woods course, for instance, let's say I have to, hold over or under. So the point of aim comes down the fork. But he said, that's interesting. I never use the same aim point. I go by feel. And I'll tell you why I think that's the case, because I shoot short draw. My anchor is in the same point every single time.
Yeah.
When you're shooting long draw, the anchor point is going to change a little bit every time. And so if you use long draw, you might be more attuned to doing a more intuitive style of shooting, because you're feeling where your body is in space versus where the point of anchor and the point of reference is. And I think that when I shoot PFS, because I use a floating anchor like that, I do that in my head more than when I'm doing short draw. Like when I'm doing short draw, if I hit my anchor point, I see one band, not two, and I use that fiber optic reference point, that ball should hit the same spot every single time. I could do it with my eyes closed, so to speak. Like I don't have to think about it. I don't have to feel my target or feel my shot. It's gonna hit that same spot.
I think there's a lot of people out there that say they're what do they call that when you shoot without aiming? Help me out here, like an intuitive shooter or whatever it is. I think there's very few people that actually do that. I think a lot of people, what they do is actually gap shoot. In Chuckin's case,
He's gap shooting.
the guy's a fucking wizard. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it. It's just crazy some of the stuff he does. You know, it's crazy. But I think a lot of people end up gap shooting. Like for me, for instance, whenever I'm shooting a smaller fork with like an 80 or an 85 millimeter, I end up gap shooting. I'll drop it down. I'll shoot a little bit lower. You know, I do.
He said, "Yeah, correct."
Yeah,
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like when like in archery, yeah. So in archery, when you're shooting gap, you have a 2-point system basically.
Yeah.
And depending on the depth of your target, you have to know where the arch is in between those 2 points. So if you have one short point, one long point, and that's going to be your point on distance. Yeah, it's going to be your point on distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're shooting gap, you just have to kind of guess where, like, the height that the arrow is going to be at the point that's going to impact the target. And we do have the same thing in slingshots, except it's only 1 point.
Yeah.
Because it's a much more...
In terms of archery, I was a string walker. And I know some people who don't understand archery or don't know of it that much don't really know what that is. But basically, I would shoot 3 fingers under my arrow. There's 2 styles. Some people shoot 1 over, 2 under, which you would have to adjust your arm or your torso to aim at different distances. In my case, I shot 3 under, and I shoot tabs. So some people would shoot a glove to protect their fingers. I would shoot a tab, and on that tab, I would know that if I had 3 fingers under my arrow, shooting point on at 40 meters, I would shoot point on, boom, right from where I was looking on my arrow tip. If I wanted to shoot a shorter distance or a longer distance, I would adjust where I would be shooting on that arrow. So if I was shooting 40 yards and beyond, I would raise a little bit. If I was shooting shorter distance, my hand would walk down the string. So basically on my tab here, I would have marks drawn on there. And I would put my fingers on the string like this, and I'd put my thumb on the string where I was, and then shift my fingers down for that distance. So if I'm shooting at 10 meters, it would be a bigger drop down, and I would look, and basically it would take my bow and pivot it up, or pivot it downwards, and get my thing. They call it string walking. So I would have multiple distances at that on my thing. So say 40 yards, 30 yards, 20 yards, 10 yards, and my hand would go lower down my string. To make it confusing. But this can be applied to those who shoot with a floating anchor or for a different anchor. Because this is essentially what they're doing. Is they're going from, this is point on at 10 meters. This could be 20. This could be 30. You could be shifting up your anchor point, which is how I would actually typically shoot a bow. But to me, anchor points, don't fuck with them. It's always better to keep the same anchor. And in archery's case, you're able to walk up and down the string by keeping the same anchor. You see?
Yeah.
With slingshots, you can't do that. So if you're moving around your anchor point, to me, that inhibits things. You can get confused or you start feeling numb. And for short draw shooters, like, I don't know, but for me, I'm kind of aggressive on how I put it on my face. I actually put some pressure. I want to feel that cheekbone hit my thumbnail. So I'm actually tucking it in there pretty good. And with my style of canting and keeping it straight, so it kind of feels like I've got my pouch on a slight twist, but it's not. It's actually straight.
So I have a 2-point anchor. I use my thumb and then I touch my lip.
Your finger?
With my finger.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting with a 2-point anchor. And I want those 2 things to be basically in line every single time. And then when I'm shot like 6 inches to the right on that one, I wasn't paying attention. But I what I'm doing is every time I'm wanting to aim like at a distance, I'm just walking up the fork tip. So my shooting on this is why the system is so important, because if you use a different slingshot all the time, if you use a different bands all the time, if you're using different things all the time, you can't be that consistent with it. But I don't know if you guys can see on the Axiom, the fiber optic is there, and then underneath the fiber optic, there's a gap that you can see where the fork starts.
Yep.
And that fork line for me is my 20-yard shot, my 20-meter shot. So all I have to do is go from being point on to that, and that'll get my shot out there to 20 meters. Anything beyond 20 meters, then I have to start walking down the band. So there's a point where the band attaches. So there's the fiber optic, there's the frame point, there's the point where the band attaches, there's the point where the band is stretched to. There's just different levels of the point down the fork.
Yeah, we do the exact same thing.
Yeah, that will allow my ball to get where it needs to go.
And you end up splitting the target in half, right? With the edge of your fork, depending on how far you go down.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. So when you camp the fork, you walk the fork up crooked too. Mm-hmm. So that compensates for the twist. So I would shoot off to the right if I shot distance with a twist. But the canting makes you walk the fork up to the left. Yeah. So you make up the left to right, the windage, by walking the fork up and over when you shoot.
Yeah, it all seems to work out. It really does. It works out. Yeah.
Like you said, that one line of the band, it makes such a big difference. Having one band that you can see. Basically, that's shooting a rifle at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny, that people talk about these things being simple kids' toys, but really when you look into it, there can be a lot of science that goes into it if you really give a shit enough to think about it, Yeah. This is what I was Smo's hound. Spend money to blow instead.
That's why Smo's 3-peat is most impressive. 10 meters because I shoot a floating anchor. I never use the same aim from shot to shot. It's generally at the point of aim, but not exactly. I only gap shoot with a narrow frame. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same with me too.
Until Smo said how good he is, so I'm going to spend the money on blow. Paul. Oh my god.
Paul's awesome. Yeah, fuck, he's funny, man. Yeah, it was funny. I'm telling you, man. Slingshot community needs more Paul. He's a funny freaking dude. Yeah. Hey, do you find Jordan, that that sometimes the YouTube algorithm or whatever it is that works? Sometimes I've got people that come up on a live. Like yesterday I went live. I was in the shop just kind of putzing around, getting some things done, getting some stuff cut. And somebody told me Butler was live at the exact same time. I had no idea. I wouldn't have gone live otherwise. I would have just tuned into his and watched while I worked. But I'm not getting any notifications. Are you getting the same thing, or?
Yeah,
it seems to be hit and miss, but it's not always the same people. It seems to be hit and miss, but it's freaking weird. The other day too, Rex was going live, or he did a couple of shorts, and I was trying to comment on the shorts. Like, hey, buddy, I'm watching your stuff, whatever. Couldn't even comment. Like, it was just freaking weird.
I don't know if that's so much an algorithm problem as I think it is just a push notification problem from YouTube. I don't think they have YouTube is supposed to be a social media like platform, but I think that their push notification system is just broken. I think
doesn't
that's
seem
like
to
a
be
universal problem.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. It's kind of annoying because, and also, I mean, I know I haven't been posting as much as I normally have just because of the lack of time, which sucks. So on Sunday, I've been probably relying on the algorithm to try to keep me in place on Sundays because during the week, with driving home from work, the weather being shit, dropping my kid off at work, and all these things, I don't have time to film videos because of the lack of sunlight, which kind of sucks. And I don't like to sit down at a table and just talk Slingshot stuff in a video. I much prefer to do that live with someone like you or somebody or anybody else really who wants to talk about interesting points of Slingshots, try to help out some people with new thoughts or whatever. But algorithm wise, like I was blowing up for quite a while, like hitting like 200 people in my chats, in my lives all the time. But when I stopped posting, man, I fell right off. It's rough, but that is on me. So I'm not going to blame that on being blacklisted in any way, shape, or form. But I just found it weird that I was getting a lot of people saying that they're not getting the notifications for my videos and whatever, and I've noticed it with other people too. So I was just wondering if it's like a thing that a lot of people are getting, or I don't know. You know?
I think that in our the notification thing, I'm not sure about. I think that's a broken push notification thing. It might have to do with your phone settings. It might have to do with see people in the Slingshot community. We're like our dads.
Yeah.
Now we're like our dads now, and like I remember as a kid when DVDs were like becoming big. My dad didn't want DVDs. We had 500 VHS. He didn't want DVDs.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to tell him, like, Dad, look, if you just switch now, you can get a dual player. You just start buying DVDs now because in 5 or 10 years, VHS won't exist.
Yeah. Like 8-tracks. They'll disappear.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And now as a kid, like, I'm sure that there's the way that I have my phone set up. It's like, just keep it the way it is. I'm sick of all these changes now. And my kids would be like, Dad, you don't have these settings right. You don't have this stuff right. You got to get with it. And I just sit there thinking, like, I don't want to be like that. Like, I want to keep up with the technology and I want to be, but at the same time, like to a large degree, I don't really care that much. Like, I know I don't get everybody's notifications. I know not everybody gets mine, but
yeah,
I don't want to take the time to sit down and go through my phone and make all those changes. I just don't.
No, me either.
So I'm sure that's happening to a large number of the people in the community because I'm going to be 40 this year, and I feel like I'm one of the young guys. Like, we're all just middle-aged dudes who don't want the technology to change.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to be 50 in 3 months, man. Fucking 50. That's crazy, man. I'm on the back 9, boys. You better say hi now because I might not be here in a couple of weeks. It's terrible. Fuck, man. 50. I still feel like I'm 25. I'm trying to behave, and I'm 50. You know? What the fuck? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we need to. We just need like a better encouragement system among us to make those settings right. So that's probably one of the big problems that I see is that we're just old guys that don't know technology very well.
That could be it, you know?
But I also think YouTube's notification system is fucked up somehow because I know that I'm hitting the bell. I'm selecting all. I know that I'm subscribed to a lot of these people. And then 2 weeks later, I'll look them up and I'm not subscribed anymore.
Yeah.
I've heard people that same thing happen to me. Like, hey, just saw your video. I just watched 20 of your videos because I didn't see you for 3 months because I was unsubscribed to you for some reason.
Yeah. And like Coin Worker. Not Coin Worker, sorry. Can Vandal. I've been subscribed to his channel forever, clicked all the bells, and I never get a notification from that dude. Ever. I don't know why. It's weird, you know? But I was kind of, I guess I was kind of jaded about the whole thing because just before the election, we had a bit of an issue where I wasn't able to do co-lives with anybody.
Yeah.
Me and Chuck and Steele, same thing, but other people could do it. And then it was like, what the fuck, you know? And then Mikey made this passing joke. He's like, yeah, just watch what's going to happen when the election hits. All of a sudden, this is going to be fixed. And I swear to God, to the date, the very next day, election hit, boom, everything's fixed. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? You know? This can't be. And I know that's not the case. I know it's, well, most likely not the case, but it got my spidey senses tingling like there's some fuckery going on, you know? And then,
Yeah.
you know, it was kind of weird, you know? I know Chuck and Steele couldn't go live, a co-live on his channel, but if he went on Omega Slings, he could from the same phone, same everything. So it wasn't an iPhone versus Samsung or Android guy thing or whatever. It was just weird, you know?
Yeah, you would think that, like, here's another example I'll give you. Whenever people are doing their lives and they're like, hey guys, make sure to like the video, double tap the screen. That doesn't work on my phone. Double tapping the screen pauses the video.
Is that right?
So, like, I'll tap the screen, I'll double tap, and it'll just pause play.
Oh, weird. What platform are you on?
I have an Android.
I'm an Android too, and it works for me.
It doesn't, but what? I mean, why? I don't know. I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to go bananas about it. I'm not going to look into it.
Yeah, we got to ask a 12-year-old. They'll know.
Yeah, but I can tell you one thing: when people are talking about the algorithm on YouTube, we have to start replacing the word algorithm in our brain with audience, because YouTube doesn't give a shit about your videos. They want the advertising money. That's what they want. And any video that will get views, they'll put ads on and they'll make their money.
Views and watch time, I think watch time is the biggest key out of all of it. I think as people are actually really stacking up, if you look at your watch time average, if you're getting past that 5-6 minute section and people are actually really watching from beginning to end, that makes a huge difference on all that.
So watch time, click-through rate, which is how when people do have the opportunity to click on your video, how often are they clicking?
Yep.
And there's one other thing that they measure: click-through rate, watch time. Oh, and just interactivity. So your comments, your likes, all that kind of stuff. Share.
Yeah.
So, but the algorithm isn't the problem. If you're having a low view count on videos, it's that people aren't watching those videos.
Yeah,
that's just what it is.
Yeah, or they're not interested in the content. And the one thing I will say too is, after we're done here, I didn't have time to do it yesterday, but I'm going to try to make a badass thumbnail for this one, and I'm hoping that people will end up watching it more. We've done pretty good today. We've had about 40 people in here from beginning to end, pretty much. I mean, we're not at the end yet, but you know, around that point, it's been pretty good. But thumbnails really get the clicks. Like that's a really big thing, you know. And there's been a lot of good information in this one, so I'm hoping that more people will watch it.
Yeah, YouTube cares about people watching the video. They don't care about you. They don't care about the content so much, as long as it's advertised, as long as it's relatively advertiser friendly.
Yeah, you're staying in those guidelines. Ooh, it's hiding from me, Jordan.
I smacked it up into it. But like, that's really what they care about. YouTube wants money. They're an advertising company. That's what they really care about. And if people, they're not hiding your videos. They want people to see them. If people aren't clicking and people aren't watching, they're not going to keep pushing the video. Straight up, they just won't. If you have a video that performs poorly, it's because people aren't watching it. It doesn't have anything to do with YouTube trying to push it out. They don't care about that.
It would be nice. It would be nice to keep things rolling, keep things flying by. But what does D say here? Not 100%, Mark. Thumbnails don't mean shit to some. No, you're right. You're right. But if, like, for example, if people just go by and they see Sunday Morning Coffee with ATO and they see that little red box versus, me and Coin sitting in a hot tub of a coffee cup and Coin saying, "Ooh, look at the bubbles," and I'm like, "Coin, that stinks, bro." Like there was. There were some really good thumbnails that were out there that actually will bring people in a little bit more than just seeing a plain screen in the back, you know? Bam Bam gets 10K plus on plus no thumbnails. Oh, interesting. I haven't gotten 10K plus on a video in a long time, but also I haven't been shooting videos in a long time. The lives have been killing it for me. But the videos at this time of year is tough, and I think the lack of posting too. I think having things pop up like shorts and little videos here and there and all that stuff really do help the channels. Keep things flowing. Keep the watch time up. That's all important.
See, he said so. Dee said that a shadow ban is a real thing. I agree, the shadow ban is a real thing, but you got to be doing some. You have to be doing something that they're made aware of that they just don't like in order for you to be shadow banned.
Well, a good example of that though is it really doesn't really take that much though just to have somebody shadow banned. There's a guy I follow on Instagram called the Bearded Butchers. All they do is they take a piece of meat, they put it on a table, they cut a backstrap out of it, and they're like, "This is how you cut this piece. This is what part of the cow it is. This is how you take it. This is how you prepare it," and blah 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 blah. And it's very educational, all information, but they've been cut down over and over and over again. If I was to come out here, for example, and say, "You know what, Justin Trudeau's piece of shit," blah 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 blah, and I talk all kinds of crap, all it would take is one of my viewers to say and report me and say that this is bad, and then done. That's all it would take.
Yeah,
and,
well,
and that does happen.
A lot of times what happens in those situations is like you get a report and then the machines are going to slow you down until there's somebody that can actually watch it. And a lot of times those things aren't done by people. So they're like the reporting and the slowing down of your views isn't done by people. But once people actually start to watch it and they realize that like this guy's just talking a bunch of nonsense, who cares?
Yeah.
What YouTube wants, I promise you, this is the case 100% of the time. They don't care about your politics. People, Chuck and Steele said it's politics. They don't care about your politics. They care about the money that advertisers will pay to advertise on your videos.
Yeah. And that point of it, though, that point of it could be about politics. That's the problem.
That's true, but that's not necessarily a YouTube thing. So
no.
If you sit here and you say, I voted for Trump, and then there's a company out there that is like right-wing pro Trump and they want advertising to be on similar videos, YouTube's going to take their money and they're going to push your videos. What YouTube cares about, the number one thing that they care about is, are people watching your videos? Do they care about what you have to say? They don't care if you're left wing or right wing. They care about the views. If you get 10 million views on a video, doesn't matter what you're talking about. YouTube is going to push that to people.
They should be. I hope so. Yeah.
I'm saying like they don't care. They care about the green, baby. The green. They don't care about the blue or red. They care about the green.
It's all about the cheddar. But it was like I was telling you before about about that whole thing that was going on with both Chuck and I having a hard time going live with people. At the same time, and I was posting it on my Facebook, how many times I was getting flagged on my videos, and every single live for about 2 months, I would go through it, and it would be my little dollar sign would be in yellow, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I tried so hard not even to swear in this one, and still I got flagged. And I would always say, "Hey, let's go, watch my video. Tell me it's bad." And I'm like, thing that sucks is my lives are really long. I got 3-hour lives going on. You're going to have to watch that whole thing to make sure I didn't say anything really bad. And sure enough, within a couple of days, it was green, but damage was already done. I get all my views within that period of time.
Yeah.
Which sucks. You know? It was
re-upload it.
Huh?
Re-upload it.
Well, it was alive, so it's kind of hard, you know.
Yeah. Well, then you'd have to download and then re-upload it, which is
Yeah.
and those are huge files because there's so much time involved.
Yeah. You know, at the beginning of the beginning of the live, I showed you how much snow was coming in.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. It's crazy. Yeah. It's gonna be rough. I'm gonna have to get some salt down. I guess I got a little bump of ice in there somewhere that's messing me up a little. Yeah, it's pretty bad when it's snowing in the house. Honestly, D's, just curious over why some people do better than others. It's because people are watching them, and that's it. It comes down to that, really. It comes down to that. I mean, there was some sketchy shit that was going on for a little bit, whether it was that or not, or they made an adjustment in their system or whatever. It could be that too. I'm not going to go full conspiracy theory on it. I don't really know, but it was kind of odd at that point that those things were happening. That's the only thing I'm really saying. It's kind of weird, but
Yeah, I just think that like Dee's asked, if we all make the same video, why do some videos get more views than others?
it's tags, man.
Your tags, your subscriber count has a lot to do with it. Your return people, people that watch similar things to what your channel are. There's so many ways that fit. There's so many systems that fit into the algorithm. Sometimes they're going to get views, sometimes they won't. But if you make quality videos and they're advertiser friendly videos and they're videos people actually are interested and want to watch, they're going to watch and YouTube's going to push it straight up, period.
And to be fair, we're also in a kind of like a niche sport too, right? Like if you had to say how many people are really out there shooting slingshots in North America, I bet you we're not at 100,000. I bet you we're not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
how many
I don't
people
know.
actually follow it? Like the fact that I'm coming up to 12,000 subscribers is freaking amazing. Like I can't wrap my head around it, you know. But imagine there's guys like Chris from Catapult Carnage. Nathan's got to be around 65,000 or something like that. I'd imagine the Simple Shot guys.
I think the Simple Shot YouTube accounts at like 35,000.
Yeah, something like that. But those are huge numbers for a niche that's so small. So, I mean, really, I think Chris is at something like 100. I mean, Fowler too. He's at 1 million, but he is not a slingshot channel. He's a bushcraft / slingshot channel. You know, and he's
Bushcraft / survival / buy all my products type channel.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just crazy that, you know, when anybody in our niche, in our genre or whatever you want to call it, it's getting into that 10,000 mark. That's big. That's big news. You know.
Yeah.
Well, you must be getting up there too. I mean, what are you at? What are you at?
I just passed 7,000 like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, around 7,000. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But I have 400 plus videos on YouTube. Like I have so many videos. Like volume. That's another thing. Volume, consistency. Are your videos advertiser friendly? When people see them, do they click? When people do click, do they watch? And how many likes, comments, shares, and all that stuff do you have? Because the more all of that stuff happens, the more YouTube is going to put your content out there for more people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that once we get back to some decent weather and I can get outside and actually do some real shooting outdoors, and I know I wanted to start a playlist of me going out doing like one pot meals while shooting. You know, I think that would be pretty good, showing some recipes, cooking on a fire, shooting outdoors, that kind of thing would be fun. Nathan's just better looking than the rest of us, to be honest. Agreed. I'm an ugly son of a bitch, so it's tough. It's tough. That's why those thumbnails are so important. Explain a YouTube short that gets 80% of the view rate, but mysteriously stops between one. It's because of the sheer volume of those videos coming out. When I see something pop up, sometimes you'll start scrolling, doing the death scroll, and you'll go down and down and down and down and down. They just keep coming, man. They don't stop. That's the problem. And you'll get a lot of those views in the beginning. Everyone's going to watch your stuff, and then all of a sudden, it just disappears. That's the problem of sheer volume of shorts.
It's with shorts. It has 100% to do with how people are scrolling. So if you're getting an 80% view rate, it's because everybody that's scrolling through and happens to see your video is watching 80% of it. But the 20% of people, or the people that are not watching the video, are far higher than the number of people that are watching the whole thing. So an 80% view rate could mean that like in 1,000 views, if you got 1,000 views on that video, that almost like 500 people watched the entire video, but 500 other people viewed 10 seconds of it and scrolled on through.
Yeah. That's part of the issue. And you notice it right away when you're making your short and you put the hashtag short in the list, and the numbers of the shorts pop up down the bottom. You've got short and shorts. Those two combined is something like 8 billion. Imagine that. 8 billion. How long would it take you to scroll? Just scroll through them without even watching. Just scroll from A to Z. And by the time you're done scrolling, there's another billion. It's nuts.
Yeah, it just has to do with how many people watch the whole thing versus how many people are watching the first 5 seconds of it. Because if a huge number of people are watching 5 or 10 seconds and then they scroll through, YouTube seeing that as like, you know, a lot of people don't give a shit about this. They don't want to watch any part of it. And then there's a lot of people that want to watch the whole thing, but those people are outweighed by the number of people just scrolling through.
I'm talking strictly shorts. That's what we're talking about. Shorts.
Explain a short that doesn't do good for 3 days, then boom, AK. It's exactly the opposite of what I said, Deez. When if all of a sudden you get flooded with views, it's because at first there wasn't a bunch of people interested, and then as people started to watch them, they got interested, and then YouTube started to push that toward more and more people. So it's exactly the opposite. Like with a video that gets 1,000 views, 80% retention rate, that might have been the whole Slingshot community watched the video. Nobody else gave a shit about it.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. It would be good to find out how many of those people that watched that video were subscribers.
Yeah, and then when you watch the other video that blows up, that seems to blow up, it's because in the beginning, there wasn't a bunch of people that cared too much, but then you gradually got more, and as you gradually got more, they pushed it out more, and then it started to go off again.
I don't. It is kind of hard to navigate, really, to figure it all out. But I don't know. At this point where I'm at now is basically I'm gonna put it out. If people watch it, they watch it. They don't, they don't. It kind of sucks when you put a shit ton of effort into a video and nobody fucking watches it. It kind of sucks, you know. Like that trip that I took. You know, it was like I think it's been up for like 4 years now. I think at least. And I think I just broke 1,000 views on the thing. It's a 45-minute trip, a 45-minute video from beginning to end, and I wasn't even able to reach 1,000 views for 4 years, which is bonkers, you know. But it is what it is. I put up basically a bushcraft or a tripping video on a Slingshot channel, which I get it, but they're both my passions. So I'll put up vids that are interested to me. If people watch, they watch. If they don't, they don't. I mean, whatever.
Shorts is also just purely a numbers game. If you look at any like large channel, like go to Fowler's channel right now, and look at his shorts, some of the views on his shorts, and remember that this guy's got like 1.5 million followers or something, subscribers. And you look at his shorts, and some of his shorts have like 1,000 views or 2,000 views or something. It's nothing.
Yeah,
and then
weird.
some of his shorts have like several million views, like 2 or 3 million views. That's just how the algorithm plays, but the audience is determining those views. It isn't YouTube that's doing it. It's the audience that's doing it. You got to think about the sheer volume of people posting too, because like you said, when you're in a shorts are just about volume. Like, people are just going to gloss by your shorts sometimes.
Yeah,
It's just going to happen. So if you make a bunch of shorts all the time, some of them are going to slap and some of them won't.
Just the other day, I was scrolling through shorts. Kind of embarrassed to say this, but I came across some woman's live. She was an older woman, probably around her 50s. She was whispering the whole time while she talked. And she was dragging her nails across this corrugated tube, making this weird noise. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? This is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And you have to really listen in. Like, what the fuck's she saying? She's whispering. She's talking really quiet. It's all gibberish. I don't get it. But I was there for like 10 fucking minutes watching this thing, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And then I was like, why am I watching this shit? I was ashamed of myself, and I started scrolling. He was like, I got to get past this. What the hell's going on? But imagine, why did I stop there? There must have been something. It was so freaking weird that I was like, whoa, hold on a second. What's happening?
Yeah.
Where's this
Something
going?
was compelling.
Yeah, there was something weird. And all you heard is back and forth while she whispered about gibberish. I don't get it. But something happened. Something happened. It sucks that I told that story live because people are going to have some weird questions to me now, I'm sure. But it is what it is.
Was she also sitting on a cake in a thong?
No, not at all. That's the thing. That would have made sense. Yeah, she was sitting in a chair. She looked like an old lady, lunch lady or something. That's all it was. It was weird.
I don't know, man.
Oh, no, dude.
Know.
It's not the weirdest thing I've seen. It's the only thing I'm willing to admit to that was weird. Because normally I would never, ever watch that. But, yeah, some of the live vids are weird, man. Boy, some of them are crazy. I have an AMSR fetish. I think so. Yeah. It was so weird. And also, guys, just to say, she had 500 people in that chat. 500. That's what I looked up. I'm like, who the fuck is watching this shit? I look, whoa, 500 people. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'm the
someone's
problem.
watching it.
Somebody's watching it. 500 people were. And pretty consistently, too. It was crazy. You have a go-to frame, Jordan?
For almost all of my shooting, it's my Axiom X.
Oh yeah, is that
Axiom
what you're
X.
taking to Is that what you're taking to competitions and everything too? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'm gonna play it different. I want to tailor my setup to each individual event.
Oh, interesting.
So what we have is, in the United States, most of our competitions have several events. Some sort of a knockdown at 10 meter, some sort of a woods course style event, and some sort of a speed shoot. And then within that, there's usually some other little things that thrown in there as well. Sometimes it's distance or whatever. Paper is sometimes a thing. So, but those three things are almost always in the cards. It's almost always a knockdown. It's at 10 meter. It's almost always a woods course, and it's almost always a speed shoot. And I have an idea right now of what I want to do for those 3 things, but for sure what I'm going to do is for the knockdowns, it's the LT2. Light bands, light setup, heavy frame, and I'm using a pinch grip style shooting this frame.
Yep.
With the Scout or with the Axiom X, I do a 0.5 setup. So the ammo's a little hotter. And I have a brace style grip. And that'll be what I use for my woods course because that's how I shoot when I'm just shooting around. Random distances, random targets, random heights, sizes, everything like that. So you don't know what you're going to get. This would be my go-to frame in that situation.
Oh, nice.
And then for
I
speed,
quite like mine. I quite like mine. My Axiom X, it's pretty sweet. I didn't like the fiber optic sights because I shoot off the fork corner all the time. So I just reverse the clips and they fit. So I've got my fiber optics on the inside. So if I ever want to shoot 100 meters, I've got that sight set up. but it gives me that nice little flush corner on the top. Actually, I just want to address this here. Doggy Bones. You'll hear me often say when other people are going live, like some people are like, I'm not going to go live because of this guy, because of that guy. Just to address what you're saying, there's plenty enough people to go around 100% for everyone to get their views, have their fun, get their success or not have success, however you want to measure that. Just go live, have fun. If I'm going live at the same time Chuck and Steele's going live, at the same time Jordan, nobody, doesn't really matter. Everyone's going to kind of cycle their way through things and everyone's going to show the love. It's not a problem. The only time that it sucks is when people are talking shit about the other guy on the other lives, which I've seen a couple of times. And that kind of thing kind of sucks. But on the same side, who cares? Just go out there, do your lives, have fun. And, when I was mentioning that about Butler going live and I didn't get the notification that he'd been on live for a while, I only went live because I was kind of bored working in the shop by myself, and often I'll listen to other people's lives while I'm doing stuff around the house or in the garage or whatever. That's all it comes down to, is just enjoying that part, listening to things, whatever. I didn't know anybody was live, so I went live myself just to, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and whatever. But it was fun.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really cares that much. I'm not going live. When I do go live, I'm not going live because I want a bunch of attention. I'm going live because I want to talk to my buds.
Me too, 100%.
So I go live with the intention of just getting some people in the chat and talking about something that's on my mind, or just hanging out and shooting when I'm bored or whatever. I don't really care that much.
Watching Coin talk some shit, because it's always good. Yeah.
Man, you can tell the difference in the draw weight just between a 0.5 and 0.4 and how steady that mark is. So when you're like doing this type of thing,
yeah,
and it's just moving just enough.
When you're aiming, are you looking at the target and having your fork float over it, or are you looking at your fork float over the target? Which one do you do?
I eyeball in the target. If I look down at my fork, sometimes I'll just like relax my bands, reset my brain, and then re-aim.
Really?
Yeah, I'm only trying to see it in the peripheral. Like I'm trying to see it in the periphery, but I'm staring into the target like I'm gonna shoot through it. I'm trying to hit a spot on that target.
Fucking Coin's funny. Yeah, the world needs more Coin. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of what I do too. Is I started to look at the target and have my fork kind of float over it, and I was having problems where my eye would keep on going back and forth in between the two of them, and I found that when I was looking at the target, my hand would move more, trying to get the fork kind of in the right spot. And when I started looking at the fork hovering over the blurry target, for example, it just solved all my problems. So that's why I did the video on that. But I mean, I think the biggest thing from that video that people should take away is you don't want your eyes flipping back and forth. That causes trouble.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to look at my target and just eyeball the target. And then in my mind, I'm watching the ball. So as I'm holding it, I'm already seeing my shot go.
Yeah. Yeah, live is great, but I miss the convenience of being able to download a podcast and play it when I want. Yeah, me too. I do that a lot, actually. Usually when I'm on my way back and forth to work and all that stuff, I've got a bunch of podcasts downloaded off of Spotify where I just listen to that back and forth. I don't listen too much of the of the radio or anything like that. I'm just playing podcasts for the most part on stuff that I'm interested in. Sometimes it's just bullshit, and sometimes it's like scientific crap, whatever I'm feeling like.
Okay, so my other band started to tear. One band
Finally.
is wearing one band. Well, this band is worn out. It's just lobbing the shot in. The band on here is starting to tear. I have a tear right down here.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm going to shoot this one I made this week.
Ooh, sexiness. That's nice.
So a couple years ago, Simple Shot was selling aluminum cores.
Yeah, I know.
And
I saw some. I tried to get my hands on a few of them, but they were gone by the time I was able to get them in.
Yeah, they did not sell them for very long. I ended up getting this Axiom. What is it called? Axiom core. I guess it's just the Axiom, and it had the little TTF things on there, but I cut those off. I ground them down.
Yep.
And for a long time, it was the skeletonized one. So for a long time, I had just had it paracord wrapped.
Oh, how did it shoot like that? Not bad. Or
It was fine. It was fine.
looked
It was
sexy, looked sexy with a carbon on it, though. I'll tell you
Dude,
that.
I was like, I'm gonna finally make faces for this, and I put some carbon fiber faces on there, real simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if you can see it in this light, but I have a G10 inlay in there that goes about
nice.
down to here.
Yeah,
and it's like purple.
Oh wow.
I don't have a light or anything down here, but
It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it.
Anyway, it's very, very subtle, but the whole thing is I don't know, it's so light it feels weird because the core is skeletonized and then carbon fiber, is nothing.
Yeah, it's
There's
nothing.
no weight to it at all. But dude, I think that this thing is going to be my clay ammo extraordinaire shooter. I just tried to throw some 8mm downrange and I'm lobbing it in there again, but these bands are so these bands are so light, it's stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't have any clay down.
I've got a couple in the works right now. They're really heavily glued and nasty looking at the moment, but I'll give you a quick look. It's a micarta, G10, and black walnut. Just a little Avro. I'm gonna make it like a little wrap and tuck guy, but it's so stupid light. Like I got two of them. I got one in oak, and I got the micarta core with a little tiny G10 strips in there. But I've got good hopes for this thing. I think it's gonna be a pretty nice EDC. It's gonna be nice and light and comfortable. Once I get
You
my
said there's liners in there?
Huh?
You said there's liners in there?
Yeah, there's two little black liners.
Oh, it's black liners?
Yeah, very, very thin in between the black walnut and the red. But
yeah.
I think it's gonna turn out pretty nice. I was a little bit concerned. I wasn't gonna put the liners in there at first, and I was thinking that it's like with the walnut and the micarta in there. The micarta is like almost a 1/4 inch. It's kind of in between 3/16 and a 1/4 inch. And I was like, I might not have enough flex. It might still have too much flex in there to be super solid and that thin. So I threw in the little liners in there with the G10. That'll help stiffen it up. I'll put a couple of pins in it to make sure it doesn't move around too much, but I think it'll be pretty nice. It'll be fun to shoot.
Do you have a plan for the wood as far in terms of a finish goes?
I've been kind of messing around with it a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to try on this one to use that glue covering there. Use the super glue or whatever it is. I'm going to sand it up really, really nice, get it really fine. I don't have much material to work with, so I'm going to have to go like start off at like 800 or something to really kind of chip away at it so I don't lose too much material. And then I'll probably use either that or like a polyurethane, but I'm going to tape up the other side so it doesn't touch the G10 or the other. It's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass, but I don't know what I'm going to use to seal it up. So I don't know yet. It's kind of
I would look for some sort of like a deep penetrating. They make a deep penetrating epoxy resin.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so it's like I think it gets like an inch maybe into the wood. Like it goes deep into the wood.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know how big, I don't know how much that costs, but one of the things that I've noticed on a lot of builds that people do with natural materials and like G10 or Micarta is that the humidity and temperature differences that wood goes through can expand and contract it a lot more.
Yeah.
And you might end up getting delamination on the edges of it.
That's kind of what I was concerned about too. That's why I was thinking of using some kind of a covering or glue or whatever it is, something to really keep it stable somewhat.
Are you putting clips on that one?
No, it's going to be wrap and tuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, you can just do a super glue finish on the whole thing.
Yeah. I might do that. I've never done it before.
When you get it to the right smoothness that you want, coat the wood in super glue with a real thin super glue because that'll get deeper in there. So try to find like a thinner one. And use a few coats on the wood. And then before you try to apply the final coat, give it like a 600 or 800 grit sand. And that will expose any wood you didn't get thoroughly.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see a difference in the color where their super glue is and where it's not if you just do a light sanding over the whole thing. And if you get it really, really good and the whole wood is really nice and covered, then you can just glob super glue on there and like spread it around on the whole thing. Once you have a few layers of that built up, another light sanding just to knock off the high spots and everything, buff it, the whole thing will shine up really nice. And that'll help you avoid that problem with the moisture and the temperature.
Oh, nice. Well, when you're using the super glue though, you use something that has like a slower dry time, I'd imagine, on that.
Yeah, I use a medium viscosity super glue, and
okay.
I just glob it on there. I put it on super thick. It's a medium viscosity, so it's already like gloopy, but I put a lot on there. I spread it around with nitrile gloves until it starts to get too sticky to hold on to.
Yeah.
And then I have just a piece of HDPE about that big because super glue don't stick to HDPE. So I just stand it up. I stand it up on end on the HDPE and lean it onto something.
Okay.
Once that's cured, usually about 15 to 20 minutes, I might do another coat or two. I might do a little bit of sanding to knock off like weird high spots and then where it touched, where it's going to pool. And sometimes I'll put another coat on there just to make sure, but then you can just buff it off. The medium viscosity super glue is so thick, it doesn't penetrate very deep though.
Oh, okay. Because I know the super glue that I have, I've got one that's kind of like a gel. I use that for when I'm just kind of trying to keep things like I take like tape and I put my two pieces together and I glue them together when I'm running them through my router just to keep the template in place. And it holds great like that. But I find, man, it dries fast. Like there's not really much time to rub this thing out. How do these guys do it? There must be one that has a slower dry time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, with two pieces you're trying to glue together, medium viscosity super glue takes about 30 seconds to bond up.
Yeah.
If you after about 10 seconds, if you do any kind of like if you're moving it still after about 10 seconds, it's not going to be a very good contact. It gets too viscous.
Okay. It starts to clump
but
up,
you do,
I guess.
yeah, but you do have a good 10 seconds to get it in place.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad.
It's not like instant, like normal super glue, man. You got 2 seconds. I mean,
oh, I know. That I had some regular stuff, and I tried just messing around with a little piece of wood, and I gave it like a good squirt and started rubbing it with my thumb, and it was like, oh, man, this is no good. I'm stuck. I'm stuck already.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, you got no time, but the medium stuff is really nice for that final coat because you don't have to put on very many layers of that.
I kind of toss and turned about thinking about using some kind of oil too, like a boiled linseed oil or something for the wood. I think it would look great with that too, but I just don't know if that would still mess around with the swelling and the shrinking.
Yeah,
know?
it probably will, and that depending on what type of oil you put on there, you might run into a problem of delamination anyway because it might
Yeah,
mess with the glue.
that's what I was concerned about. Where you off to?
I'm gonna get a haircut.
Oh, you're going to get a haircut?
Yeah.
You're going to drive around in this mess?
I need a haircut.
All right. Yep. Yeah, they're heading on out to brave the wilds. That'll be fun.
What do you use to get G10 to shine? Okay, so double D's. When I have G10, I'll sand it up to about 600 to 800 grit. Then I jump right to like a 2000 grit, and I don't bother with the in betweens from 800 to 2000, and it only needs like a real light sanding. And then I use a black polish for metal on my buffing wheel. And the black polish that I use is meant for like it's meant for like precious metals for like like gold or silver. And I just run that on the buffer for a long time. And G10 sanding wise, pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. When you're sanding G10 with 2000 grit sandpaper, you're basically just like rubbing it with paper.
It's so nice.
But it works. You can feel it like just glassing over with that really high grit sandpaper, and then on the buffing wheel, it takes basically no effort if it's just pure G10.
I use an ultra fine white on mine, and it works pretty good. I get a pretty damn
any
good
plastic
shine.
compound too. If you have a plastic buffing compound, it'll work on G10 or micarta because the epoxy is a plastic based epoxy.
Yeah. The only thing I found a bit of a problem was I was using a green one for a while, a green compound, and on lighter colors of G10, I found it was staining it a little bit. It was getting in there somehow, and I was having a hard time getting rid of it. The white, it was easier to remove, and you didn't have to worry about it. Like if I was doing white G10, some spots for whatever reason would just take some of the green shit in it, and I was like, oh no. I switched to the white, and it wasn't a problem. I didn't have to do any resanding afterwards.
Yeah, G10, like once you get it to the point where you don't really see sand lines, like on a 400, 600, maybe 800 at the most, you can jump right to really, really high grit sandpapers. G10 just sands so easily, it buffs out so easily that you don't need to spend a bunch of time sanding it. Micarta's a different story, man. Micarta, you got to treat like wood.
Fuck Micarta, man.
Yeah, dude, micarta,
I hate that shit.
you got to sand the hell out of it. Start low, work your way slowly through the grits. You can't skip steps on micarta.
And wet sanding is your enemy, I find, when it comes to micarta.
Yeah, it gets all gunky.
Yeah, don't wet sand. Just go right to keep dry sanding, put your mask on. It's definitely way better that way.
Yeah, you got to treat it like wood. You got to treat micarta like wood.
But I find it's much easier. Like this frame here. I got this one made out of all out of micarta. I love this thing, and it's got a nice feel to it. It's a nice warm feel on micarta, which is good, which is kind of cool. And it's easier to cut. It's easier on your blades. When you're cutting G10 or carbon fiber, those are real motherfuckers for your blades. If you're using steel cutters or anything like that, it's either I use diamond grit. I find I get the best life out of it. But some people use the carbide tip blades. For me, it was kind of hit and miss, depending on the thickness you're cutting. But it'll eat up your blades quick when you're cutting that hard stuff. That's for sure.
Andy Lowe, who, by the way, hey, what's up, dude? I miss you, bud. He asked, how do I dry my natties? I have so many that I can just leave them in a bucket somewhere, and by the time I get to it, if I cut it, it's going to be dry. It'll probably be 6 months or longer before I get to those. So if I go out and cut 6 natties today, I just put them in a bucket and they'll be dry by the time I get to them. If you wanted to quick dry them, what I would just do is bursts in the microwave. Try to remove as much of the bark as you can and give it like 30 seconds at a time. Let it cool down to the point where you can easily handle it in between each burst. The reason you want to do that is because if you turn it up, like if you put a natty in the microwave for like 2 minutes, you will either catch the thing on fire, or if there's enough water in it that it doesn't catch on fire, it will warp.
Yeah. Also, I've most of the time I'm pulling natties off. I'm usually taking them from deadfall, and a lot of these natties that I'm taking, it's on usually on a bigger one that's been knocked down by high winds or whatever it is. And I cut all my forks out of there. I do go a little bit longer than what I'm going to be using, for example. And when you throw them away, you will, as they dry, you will start having some cracks come in there. But if you cut an extra 2 inches on either side, on the bottom and the tops, it will start to split, but it won't be in your usable piece, which is good. So that's what I do. And you can also dry them out, like Jordan said, using them in there. There's a few different things you could do. One of the ways that I've done it was actually leaving them in a plastic bag with the bag open. And each day you turn the bag inside out and you throw your fork back in there, and the outside will dry off in the ambient air, and the plastic bag kind of draws the humidity out of it. You could also stick it in the oven at 200 degrees for a certain amount of time too. 200, 175, something like that. And it'll slowly start drawing out the liquid from it. But the microwave works very, very good.
What I personally do is I have a dehumidifier in my basement, and I keep like a milk crate full of natties in that dehumidifier.
Oh yeah.
And every time I get a few, like if I'm out and I cut a bunch, I'll just empty the ones that are by the dehumidifier into a bucket and put the new ones in the milk crate by the dehumidifier. And that just speeds it up enough. It doesn't like suck the moisture out of it like a microwave will, but I have so many that I can't possibly get to them. I wouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah, for the most part, I just leave them in my garage. I leave them in my garage. I got a kind of like a pile of them going. I just leave them in my garage, and if I cut them last year, I'll be using them this year, type thing. Gives them plenty of time. But mostly those deadfalls, when you find those deadfalls and you cut them out, they're like 3/4 of the way there anyway. You know?
Yeah, they're pretty dry.
Yeah, just throw them on your deck for a little while on a sunny day, couple of days, and you're good to go. Oh, wow. That was awesome. You're going to be making some natties there, Andy?
This thing is sending my 8mm steel about this far below my target on almost every shot.
Oh, wow.
It's just, it's like...
Just lobbing them in, eh?
I have to hold over quite a bit. These bands are so long.
You're swinging them in at this point. You're not shooting them in anymore.
I smacked that one, but now it jammed up inside the catch box again.
I'm kind of surprised. I thought that I had a good split in, like, the little loop that those letters targets are made with there that holds onto your rope. I had a pretty good split in it, and I've been smoking that thing this morning. Was expecting it to tear, but it's still hanging in there. I went and got a backup target just in case that one shit the bed on me today, but it's still hanging in.
Somebody buy Smo a roll of latex. Coin, I have probably, I'm going to estimate conservatively, I might have 25 rolls of latex waiting to be cut up right now.
You got like a 10-year supply.
I have so much latex, man. Some of it was from some of the things that Simple Shot sends me will just have a roll of latex in it. Some of them I still buy. I end up just being like, oh, I want to try a full butterfly, and I want a brand new set of like a brand new roll of latex so I can give it a fair test or something. But yeah, I probably have like 25 rolls of latex. I think that all of the 0.7 and 0.8, I don't know if I have any 0.8 left. I might have a roll, but all of the 0.7 that I have is probably 2 years old, and I keep it in a zip up tool bag. So I zip it all the way up, and it stays in its plastic container, and it shoots like the day it's just as good as the day you would get it. I just keep it in my living room.
Keep it away from the light and keep it away from the air, and it'll last forever, pretty much.
Dude, yeah, I keep it in my living room in a zip up container. I only bring it out when I want to cut it or use it.
And electrical devices, keep it away from that too. It's no good. They give off ozone, so ozone's the enemy. Yeah.
But I have so much, man. I have so much.
Yeah, I've actually got a local guy I'm going to be passing by at some point when I have some time. I'm going to be giving him a whole bunch of latex. I'm just not shooting anymore. It's just taking up space in my house, and if it's not Gong Chi, Omega, or Sniper Sling, I'm pretty much not shooting it. I've got my one roll of 0.5 simple shot that I'll be keeping, but that's pretty much it. Oh, and my South Wales caddies, I really like the 0.55. So I'll be hanging on to that one, but that's pretty much it. All the rest of it's gonna go.
Do they still make that, the South Wales caddies?
I think so. I haven't really heard much from Jordan lately, but he had some pretty good elastic for a while. Some of it was kind of heavy. I think the 0.6 was red was pretty good elastic, but it was a little bit on the heavy side. And the 0.55 I fell in love with. I really liked that stuff. It was great. I got to do a lot of the initial testing for that elastic, which was kind of cool. When Jordan was putting together the brand, but I think they're quite big out in the UK, but you don't really hear much about them now.
Coin Worker said some of these guys love the TheraBand. I like dedicated slingshot latex. I have this that I had gotten from Hunter. It's a sling ring.
Oh yeah, cool.
And it's got TheraBand gold on it with this huge freaking taper. Let's see if I can take a shot here. And I have like a 3 or 4 year old Zach Fowler pouch. Oh. It got there.
Yeah.
It
It's like
got
shooting
there.
lasagna noodles.
How did I ban this? Oh, I see. I flipped the pouch over.
Oh, you got like a pickle fork twist going in them?
No, I was trying to shoot it crooked. Ooh, that was closer. Still about this far below the target zone.
I know those rings and shooting frameless scare the shit out of me. I've never hit
TTF
myself.
bands.
You what?
I tied TTF bands, so on this, it's like weird.
Oh yeah.
So I should have flipped the.
So when you tied them to the ring, how did you did a wrap and tuck? You just stuck them both on top and just gave it hell, pretty much.
Yep.
Oh wow. I guess you just pop that on your middle finger, and then you just spread them open with your thumb and forefinger.
Yeah, I actually put it on my ring finger.
Okay.
But I put the ring part to the inside of my hand.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so I just take one band over the other. See, I did it again. Like that.
Oh wow. I know I was messing around. I made an order from GZK at one point, and they sent me a basically a looped flat band with a pouch at the end. And I was shooting around with it, having a little bit of fun. And I just skimmed the tip of my finger with one of my shots. I just skimmed the tip of my index finger, and it didn't hurt much, but it was kind of like, wow, if that thing hit full bore, that would have been horrible. That would have been horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I hit myself over here.
Ah,
There's a decent scar right there from it.
it cut you good?
Yeah, I hit it dead on. I mean, I hit it back. Like the
Oh.
ball didn't go forward; it came back.
Oh shit! A total oh fuck moment. I'm sure. You know,
Yeah,
that was like
I thought that hurt a lot. I thought I might have like broke a finger or something in there, but I didn't actually end up hitting bone. I hit that big thick pad,
the webbing
in there,
the muscle and webbing in there.
a big old it bled a little bit, but I probably should have lanced it because it was like a big welt, like a big blister,
big
like
blood blister under there.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was nasty.
That sucks.
But live and learn, I guess. You know, everybody does it.
I know that's the whole darts thing. I know so many people are messing around with those darts, and I'm just never ever going to do that. I'm like, man, I know I've got a pretty good release, you know, but there's been times, even recently, where I'm getting ready to pull and it just slipped out of my hand.
Yeah,
just that
happens to me all the time.
Yeah, fucked. That would be a nightmare. And I saw somebody on Facebook. They were showing how they made this leather glove to protect their hand. I'm like, leather ain't gonna do shit, bro. You're in all kinds of trouble if that thing hits your hand. All kinds.
So, Coin, I hold it inside like this. Like I hold it on my finger, like about there. And then one hand goes in front of the other, like that. On flat bands, I use my thumb like this. But on tubes, I use my thumb like that. So that's just another way you could shoot it. But basically I shoot like this. And then when I get my fingers in there, I like to like pull the bands to make sure that my spacing of my fingers is even on the band so that both of them are the same length. And then as I shoot, I just pull it across like that.
Oh, I can't believe they went out in this crap. It's crazy. My mind's blown.
Who was that, your boy?
Yeah, my boy and my wife, they went out to get a haircut and do some running around the town. And I mean, I'm sure you could hear that. The wind is just howling. I got a foot of snow, no joke, in my garage from blowing under my door. It's crazy.
So that's not a pinky hole. Yeah, it's big. I mean, it'll fit. I won't fit two fingers. Not yet. Not wet enough for that right now.
Yeah. A little hot too will fix that.
Little love lube.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, dude, we've been at it for like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Just it went by quick though, I'll tell you that, man.
Yeah, good time, bud.
Yeah, I always have a good time. So I guess we'll wrap this one up, unless you got something else you want to add or anything like this. I mean, we've been going for a while.
No, I'll talk for hours if you let me.
I had to plug my phone in, but we should definitely do it again, dude. You're the fucking man. It's always great to chat with you.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime, man. Everybody, hope you enjoyed the chat. It's always amazing to chat with somebody like Jordan. He's got a great knowledge of the sport and all things slings. So it was a lot of fun for me. I got to shoot my mouth off a whole bunch, so it was always great. And anyway, thanks for watching. Jordan, you wanted to say to the gang?
No, big things are coming though. So make sure that you guys are getting on Facebook and staying on YouTube because there are some things that are going to be popping off in the next month or two that are big in the world of slingshots.
Ooh. Intriguing. That's awesome. All right, guys. You guys take care. Stay safe. Get out and practice. Be good to each other. I'll see you again soon. I love you guys. You're freaking awesome. Later, Jordan. You're the man.
See ya.
Ciao.